We take thoughts captive, we pull lies down. Apologetic arena, lions wear the crown. Bold as lions stand and fight, truth shines bright in the night. Arguments fall when the word comes through. Arena live, we coming for you.
Knock on a weapon, strong in Christ. Truth cuts deep, yeah, truth precise. Every high thing coming down. Watch those arguments hit the ground. First century at lions roar. Christians bled on the arena floor. Now roles reversed, hear that sound. We the lions all around. What's the context? Say it loud. Truth stands tall, we ain't bowed. When the word speaks, error fades. Light shining in every debate.
We take thoughts captive.
We pull lies down. Apologetic arena, lions wear the crown. Bold as lions stand and fight. Truth shines bright in the night. Arguments fall when the word comes through. Arena live, we coming for you. Ecosmios runs the show. Zara Grace keeps order though. Moderators hold the line, keeping everything aligned. Hebrew Israelites, atheists too. Rabbis talking old school views, flipping Farouk in every claim. Step in the arena, leave maimed. Don't look down, you bleeding on the floor. Game over, hear that lion roar. Hey, hey, don't look down, you bleeding on the floor. Hey, hey, game over, hear that lion roar.
Beat you lightly with a Miss Wax stick. Every argument falls real quick. Spiritually neuralized, can't see clear. Truth right there, but they disappear. That might be clip of the month, we say. Another debate gone sideways today.
What's the context? What's the context? Who's the smallest lions? We are. We take thoughts captive, we pull lies down. Apologetic arena, lions wear the crown. Truth and love, but sharp and clear. Every argument disappears. Christ exalted, voices rise. Arena live, lions arise.
God bless, God bless, God bless, guys. Welcome back to the Apologetic Arena Live. I'm your host, Israel. You can call me King Context, and today we're back again with what we've so nicely titled Women Wednesday. Here to prove that Christianity is better than Islam. We are going to annihilate again this week any arguments that the Muslims want to throw at Christianity. Thank you all for tuning in already. For those of you who are here already, thank you for those who are going to tune in at some point in the future. We do live streams like this Mondays and Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UK. And we deal with Islam like we're going to deal with today. Hebrew Israelites, atheism, and and Orthodox Judaism. All right. So the link is pinned in the chat section. We're going to jump into some calls very soon by the grace of God. Thanks for the mods already here, manning the chat. And guys, don't forget to hit the like button when you come on in, right? It goes a long way, especially as we know when we do the streams against Islam, because for some strange reason, Muslims have this strange habit of reporting our live streams for hate speech when we read the Islamic sources, which is actually mind-boggling on so many different levels. So if you are a Muslim and you want to show us why Islam doesn't degrade women, why women in Islam are not cooked, as I like to say, if you want to step into the arena, feel free to do so. All right, let me just make sure everything is working correctly. On my side, it looks good. It should sound good as well. And just give me a couple seconds. All right, guys, it's funny as well. You got to love children. Not long before the live stream, my son vomited all over me, all the milk. And I was like, all right, son, well, I guess I'm going to have to change. So I pray also as well, guys, your week has been blessed so far. And this live stream midweek can add to the addition. We can spruce up your week, give you some joy. And obviously we can have some laughs together today as well, as we lift up the name of Christ above the name of Islam. All right, guys, give me one more second just to make sure everything is cool. And let's see how long it's going to take today for the Muslims to start reporting about. It's funny because I said today, you know what, we're gonna go back to something we've looked at before, and we're gonna see how the Muslims deal with it, and especially in relation to what the Bible says as well. So this should be good. Last time we looked at this though, the Muslims decided to malfunction, and Muslims malfunction quite a bit. So let's see what happens today. All right, guys. So any Muslim who wants to have this conversation, feel free to click in. Let's speak. Let's talk. Let's have this conversation. Let's discuss tonight. Yep, we are dealing with women in Islam. If you are a Muslim and want to have your say on today's topic, feel free to click the link. It's pinned below, and you can call in live. You can call in live, guys. All right. And for those, as often happens, the Muslims who for some reason will come in and will start complaining and saying all sorts of stuff. Why are you as a Christian speaking about this particular stuff? What's your problem with Islam? Isn't it funny that so often when we have these conversations and we talk about what actually got this all started off, when we say it was a Muslim who published a video titled Islam honors women more than Christianity, they don't seem to have a problem when we mention that it was a Muslim that got this all started off. Only the Christian who is mentioning it in response. Over your head, God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. Skylar, hope you're doing well. God bless you too. Let's see if we can get some Muslims that can actually provide some good conversations for us today. We obviously know the drill. We know that, as I mentioned earlier on, as is their custom, Muslims love to report this particular live stream, or not even actually this particular live stream, because when they do other live streams, they do it as well. They report it for hate speech. I won't be surprised today if we see again the Muslims trying to boycott in real time. They'll be in the live stream, but also at the same time saying to the other Muslims, don't call in, which is mind-boggling. And then at the same time, we have the Muslims who just can't help themselves. They want to call in, and they get to a point where they realize, wow, maybe this Christian is telling me more truth than most of my imams, most of my Muslim friends, right? Yep, hope everyone is doing well. Imagine, get lost, right, already, which is fascinating. Hello?
Yo, what's going on?
How you doing, man? You alright?
I'm alright, good. Could you hear me, yeah?
Yeah. I'm not a Christian, guys. I'm apparently a Zionist. Really? Wow.
You're a Zionist?
No, this is what I guess one of the Muslims in the chat is saying. I'm not a Christian. I'm a Zionist for some reason.
Bro, the government's right now controlling every single country, bro. Like, believe it or not, or even if it's not true, everyone believes it because they proudly proclaim it and say it. We are Zionists, so it's real, innit? But obviously, I get where the comment guy is coming from. But what's the debate, bro? What are you saying about women in Islam?
All right, before we get to that, though, let me just ask you one quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think that a Christian who debates and exposes Orthodox Judaism on a regular basis would be a Zionist?
No, my own Christian people do it. Like they say, "Oh, we're Jews." Like after a little talk, they'll be like, "Oh, but we're Jews," or whatever. But
I don't
my
answer my
main
question
thing
though, you know.
Yeah, but what's your question again, bro? You're trying to say if a Jew, man.
I said, do you think a
if
Christian who regularly debates and exposes Orthodox Judaism, do you think he would be a Zionist?
No, he will just be confused because if he believes in Christ and if he's trying to like bad man and get onto points about some other religion, how is he a Zionist, bro? That don't make sense. You're. I think I'm not getting aggressive or anything. This is just me. We haven't even jumped onto the topic, but if you're Christian, my bro, you're Christian, innit? It's either you learn about that religion, understand what it's about, and if you do have an interest in it, why not? I watch
Okay.
documentaries and watch videos and always learn about different religions, bro. So I don't see no issue there. But would I call that thing a Zionist? No. Forget the comments, man. What are we talking about here?
Okay, cool. So you don't agree that Islam degrades women. You don't think Islam is bad for women, right?
I personally, brother, I don't, because I know the empowerment and the transition and how obviously that includes covering up and that because they choose to. Yeah, I know it's there in the scripture for modesty, but the women that are born or reverted, if they choose to do it, bro, then I totally respect it because it comes down into the heart opening and getting some modesty or whatever it is for them to cover up, bro. Like women are different, Maggie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I don't even want to talk about the hijab today. There's something else I
No,
actually
it's
want to talk
fine. It's
about.
fine.
So it's interesting you
It's
said
fine.
about bringing rights, though. So I wanted to talk about something which Jesus did in comparison to something in Islam, right? So what kind of Muslim are you? Do you accept the Quran only, or you hadith as well?
Brother, I won't lie to you. As a Muslim, like if any Muslims are listening to me now, every Muslim should be following the Quran and the Hadith, brother, because without the Prophet Muhammad, there won't be no Quran because he was chosen to be the final messenger after Christ. And before that, there
Bro,
was
I
Moses.
agree with you, but from time to
Mm.
time, I come across Muslims, I speak to Muslims, and they're like, they're Quran only. So I always have to
No,
ask that question just to make sure.
I fully hear you. I come across a lot of brothers like that as well. But there's a hadith that also mentions that later among I don't know quote to quote, bro, but you can check up yourself and I know this. There's a
I guess
hadith that
Human
later
Shields in the
on.
chat, he's saying, yet me. I think he's saying he's a Quran only. But anyway,
I'm not
so
sure, but yeah, but I would say personally for them people, it's like the first question you asked me if a Christian man checks Orthodox Judaism is he a Zionist,
mhm.
then how are these people Muslim if they don't even want to believe in the Sunnah? Because the Sunnah will teach you how to pray, how to do wudu. The Quran is the word of God, right? You need the prophet there. It was spoken from his mouth. He was the one, and you know what it is? Yeah, it's there's 71 sectors in Judaism, 72 in Christianity,
And how
and
many in Islam? 73, yeah?
73, 73,
So there's
right?
more sects in Islam than the other
Yes,
religions.
yeah. 71 in Judaism, 72 in Christianity, 73 in Islam. And what the Prophet Muhammad done, he had his companions around him and he got a stick and on the floor he drew like a line, a
Mm-hmm.
pair of lines coming out of it, and then he goes, look, these are going to be the sects, but only that one line is going to be the correct one, if you know what I'm saying.
All right, cool. All right, so let's jump into the topic, man. So I want to
Mm,
read something to you, like I said, that Jesus did, and I want to cross-reference it with something in the Islam, right? So
okay.
this is from Luke chapter 10, verse 39, right? Basically, just to kind of give you some of the backdrop, Jesus comes to a town, he comes to a city, and he's being hosted, right? And there's two sisters, Mary and Martha. And this verse says, talking about Martha, and she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. Now, the reason I want to read this is because I don't know if you're familiar with this, but especially like in the first century, early on, like this was the kind of thing which was frowned upon. Women weren't the ones that would normally sit at someone's feet and learn about all these different things, right?
Yeah, pretty much so. Like they were always like there was a curtain or they were in a back room or out of respect kind of thing.
So the
Right.
fact that Jesus is doing this is showcasing that he was doing things which transform and change the culture, especially in that particular example in regards to women, right?
Mm.
All right. So now I want to read something to you from Bukhari 5825. It's one of my favorite hadiths, funny enough, but we can talk about it another time. But Aisha, you know
Muslim,
who?
bro,
No, I'm Christian, bro.
Innit?
I'm Christian. You know who Aisha is, right?
Yeah, bro. Come on.
Okay, cool. So Aisha says, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing woman. What do you think about that?
Right, you know them times, brother. Yeah, like even the grandchildren, right?
What grandchildren?
Her children, bro. Ali and Hassan, bro.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like they got killed by apparently like even the people that killed them, the grandchildren of the Prophet, was supposed like allegedly Muslims. Right.
They were
Hazrat
allegedly
Usman,
Muslims.
yeah, like they were Muslims, but they were going on a mad one, and even like the third companion of the Prophet, Hazrat Usman, the one that compiled the Quran, even like a Muslim killed him, fam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but how come in the time of Muhammad, Aisha's saying that sort of thing? She hasn't. The Muslims are suffering more than any other women. That would agree with my statement, right? That Islam is degrading women and it's bad for women, right? Hello?
Yo,
man.
I can't even go to a different page and find the hadith, bro. Because I'll mute myself, innit? But read the full hadith from Bukhari, bro. Like, what is it?
You sure you want me to read the whole hadith?
Yeah, why not, bro? Come on, man.
Still good news says I'm lying, apparently. Okay, so we'll read some more of the hadith and we'll get some more context as to why Aisha said this particular statement. But this isn't a good statement, you'd agree, right?
Bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know what the hadith, what the thing was. What they're going through, war, poverty. What they're going through, like homelessness. What they're traveling. I don't know their situation off the hadith.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if, for example, my bro, like if I'm like a famous person or something, or if I'm like, for example, like Andrew Tate and them, and I get nicked up or whatever, yeah. But if I was like mad famous and someone caught you something off me, but they see me slipping and they just see me shouting and swearing, you can't. You have to understand, why was I saying that? Why was I frustrated to say, you know what, I'm suffering right now, you know, you man are fake, bro. Or what's going on? Like, for example, if I'm here shouting at people, oh my man, yeah, you man, what? And someone takes it and be like, oh, on the news, oh, this famous person said this. But then as a, you know what I'm saying, I don't know. I need to read the hadith.
You need some context.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
All right, cool, bro. Let's read it then. So I'll read it for you. So it's Bukhari 5825. Right. It says, Rifar, narrated Ikramah, Rifar divorced his wife, whereupon Abdul Rahman bin al-Zubair al-Qurazi married her. Aisha said that the lady came wearing a green veil and complained to her. So this woman comes along complaining to Aisha of her husband, and she showed her a green spot on her skin caused by beating. Caused by what?
Okay. Beating, yeah.
Okay. So this is the context, right? Why she's complaining. It was the habit of ladies to support each other, it says. So when Allah's messenger came, Aisha said, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing woman. Look, her skin is greener than her clothes. And then it goes on.
Oh, you know what? I rate Aisha for saying that, you know.
You rate her for saying that?
Yeah, I rate her for saying that, bro, because domestic abuse and all of that, even in the times we're living now, my broskies, we know it's wrong. And the men that do it, God guide them and give them that restraint, bro, because, you know, sometimes you can understand if it's man, if like we're men and I'm pissing you off, bro, you might want to punch me or something, bro. We're men. As brothers, I won't lie to you, the other day, me and my guy, my neighbours were like, oh, you're right. Oh, listen, that's my guy. But even like me and him, we nearly went mad. We nearly scrapped each other. But we end up linking 2 minutes later. Yo, man, forget all of that, bro. But with women, you can't beat women. So when Aisha, this is what I'm saying, I don't know that hadith before it.
So when Aisha said she's never
Like,
seen.
look at the skin.
She hasn't seen any woman suffering more than the believing woman. She would be in agreement with me, right, when I'm saying Islam is bad for women.
No,
Why not?
brother. You know Salam Kola.
No, but why not? Why not?
What? You haven't heard Salam Kola?
No.
Come on, bro. You're from the UK. Like, probably not, but they're trying to get out there. But the takeaways and that, bro. Salam Kola, bro. Woman. Yeah, all the, bro. Muslim empowers
Somebody
women,
blocked
bro.
Jeff. He's racist.
Yeah, I clocked that still.
Why are your Muslim brothers like this, man?
Jeff is, I don't know if he's, the name's not Muslim, actually.
I shouldn't even answer that because I know, anyway, we'll save that for another day. But, bro, help me understand why, when Aisha's saying this, she hasn't seen anyone suffering more than the believing women. That means Islamic women, Muslims, suffer, according to Aisha, more than anyone else, right?
The Lord revealed, as Gabriel come down, Jibreel, and there was a verse put out, "Oh prophet, oh the wives of the prophet, do not raise your voice in front of him." The Lord is saying this, my brother. Do not raise your voice in front of him, now, and do not like be jealous and quarrel. And this is like the Lord is saying it because He knows this is the last prophet, and the prophet went through struggles. And let me tell you a story about a woman, bro.
It's
if
not
you don't
just
mind,
about, bro. Listen, it's not just about the wives of the prophets, though. Aisha's
it's not,
saying
so
this
can I-
about
you know, my
just
back is on.
just a general Muslim, bro.
All right, so I'm going to tell you a beautiful story, brother, yeah? It's about the times when Prophet was in Medina, and there was a woman, right? She was from Habshi, she was black skin, yeah? My black sister, yeah? You know what I'm trying to say? So she's with this Bedouin tribe, and they got caravans, and they're traveling from city to city, and they're very rich, yeah? And like, they set up their camp, and they this is during the times of the Prophet, by the way, so they set up their camp, they went to sleep. Now, she's awake during the night, right? And she's just like admiring everything. She's just awake spiritually, yeah? Next thing you know, the guy's daughter, she's got a very nice, expensive scarf. He sees like a vulture or like an eagle, because it was a brown colored scarf, innit? So the bird probably thought it was meat. So the bird come down, grabbed it. In the morning now, she saw this, went back to sleep. In the morning, she hearing screams, all of this now, yeah? And what happened was, first of all, they all blamed her. Then the elders got involved. They were even beating and slapping her. And they like, "Listen, tell us what happened." She goes, "I swear to you, I was awake. I see a bird come down, picked her up, probably because of the color, and flew away." They laughed. They went, "Oh, you could have come with a bear." They ashamed her. They had manners, but they were pushing her around. And, you know, later on, yeah, they went, "Look, we're going to have to do something mad to you. So just pray whatever you're saying happens, innit? Because if not, then it's peak for you," innit? Kind of thing. Miraculously, bro, that same bird come, just dropped the scarf right in the middle of them. So the elders felt very ashamed from their heart. They felt very bad.
That sounds like an interesting story, but it seems like you can't
Hear me,
answer
but
my
I'm
question,
going to
bro.
cut because my battery's dying, but I'm going to add you. I'm going to follow you now.
Yeah,
but
cool.
can I land with the story, bro?
Charge your battery, bro, and then
What,
come
can't
back.
I land with the story, though?
Nah, bro, because it's off topic, man. It's not really dealing with what I asked you, bro. All right?
All right, no
You
problem.
can come back another time, bro, and try and answer the question next time. It might as well be, to be honest. All right. So we've already got the racist Muslims in the chat. We've already got the boycott. This is amazing. Hello, hold on a second.
Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Walaikum salam. My face is all over my account. I don't understand why this guy's saying I'm hiding, but my face is all over my account, man. Come on.
Bro, this guy's he's
your Muslim brother,
troll,
bro. Tell your Muslim
There are
brother
a
to
lot of
fall back,
people-
man, and to relax.
Islam does not teach this at all, bro. If anything, it teaches the opposite. It teaches composure and calmness.
It's a shame I don't normally get to see that when I engage with Muslims, man.
You're just talking to the wrong Muslims, bro. No, there's no way that's true. You must know more than that.
Hopefully, bro. I talk to a lot of Muslims, man, and the majority of the Muslims don't seem to be controlled. I'm not even gonna lie. Obviously, I agree with you. There's other people out there. There's people that act differently, but you guys need to do a better job of representing the religion, man.
Yeah, I just don't think you should take people's actions as a representation of an entire group of people.
No, bro, I don't. I judge people based on the books that they believe.
Yeah, no, that's valid. That's valid. I want to know why you think Islam degrades women.
So you would disagree, right? You don't believe Islam is bad for women. You don't believe Islam degrades women or anything like that, right?
No. Like even in the the hadith that you mentioned earlier.
We'll get to it. We'll get back to it. I'll say the same thing I said to him, right? And see what you have to say. So before I read any hadith to him, you accept the hadith as well, right?
Are you asking if I'm a Quranist or?
Yeah. Are you Quran only or you accept the hadith as well?
No. Quran and hadith are both considered revelation, yeah.
Okay, cool. So before I read the hadith, I read something from the Bible. I read Luke chapter 10 verse 40. It's basically just a story where Jesus is in a particular village and these ladies host him, these two sisters, and it basically says that one of the sisters sat at Jesus's feet and heard his word. And the reason why something like this is so significant is because this is the kind of thing which didn't happen in the first century. So the women were frowned upon. It wasn't the kind of thing they would let women sit at like a teacher's feet and be one of the disciples in that way. So say that again?
I agree.
So it's an example of the things that Jesus did to uplift the women at his time, etc. So that was the backdrop of so that was basically what I read before I went to the hadith, where Aisha is saying she hasn't seen any woman suffering as much as the believing woman or believing women. What do you think about Aisha's statement?
Yeah, so this statement, nowhere in the statement does she say Islam is the reason for the suffering. So for example, to put into perspective, we believe the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet Muhammad suffered immensely as well, from opposition, from some of his family members, from other tribes. That doesn't mean that Islam is the reason for the suffering. Sorry.
So what was the reason? Do you know the reason why Aisha said this?
Let me get. I have the hadith up here. It says, Aisha said, "Lady came. I've not seen any women suffering." So it says caused by a green spot caused by beating. So I'm assuming the woman, his husband, hit her.
Yeah, so she comes to Aisha and she says, look, my husband beat me. And she shows her a mark on her skin. And the hadith talks about how it was the custom. So the women used to team up and work together to support each other because of obviously the situation. And then when Muhammad comes back, the hadith says, this is when Aisha says this. So the reason why she's saying this is important, right?
Yeah.
Because you said she's not talking about Islam, but the reason the guy is striking her or feels that it's necessary to strike her is because the Quran allows it. And the hadith too.
Where's that mentioned in the hadith?
Where's what mentioned in the hadith?
Where's the reason for the woman's husband striking her mentioned in the hadith?
The reason he struck her is what's the relevance in that? Why does that matter?
Well, because you're claiming the suffering is to do with Islam. The suffering is caused by the beating. So
and why is the guy beating? Why is the guy beating his wife? Because Islam allows him to beat his wife.
Where's that mentioned? Where's the reason for the guy beating his wife mentioned in the hadith?
That's what I'm asking you. Why would the reason why he's beating her be important? He's beating her because
that's the cause of the suffering.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And the reason he's beating her is because he's allowed to in Islam.
That's not true. That nowhere in the hadith does it say the reason for beating her, that he beat her.
Why are you so focused on the reason, bro? Do you okay? Okay, hold on. Do you
no.
Go on, go ahead.
No, I'm not focused on the reason. I'm saying you're claiming.
Apparently, I'm trying to trick you.
Aisha's statement is, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing woman. You're claiming that this suffering is coming from Islam. I'm claiming that this suffering is coming as a result of her husband, this woman's husband hitting her.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now just take that one step back. We both are in agreement that the suffering that Aisha is referring to is based on what the husband did to her. So correct. Now we go one step before that. Why is he doing this? Because he's a Muslim man and he's allowed to do this. Yeah, no,
that's not mentioned in the hadith.
So
that you're implying you're what's the word? You're yourself. This isn't mentioned in the revelation. You're deducing the reason for him hitting her yourself. This isn't mentioned in the in the hadith.
So if, for example, right?
Yeah.
You see someone in Islam striking a woman.
Yeah.
And we know the Quran says and the hadith indicate you can do that. Why would you, what would be the other reason for him doing that? Help me understand that.
It could be a plethora of reasons, bro.
Okay, like what? Give me a reason. Give me, because
valid reason.
Because when we're reasoning, we have to reason from something which is sensible, right?
Yeah.
So if a Muslim man is striking his wife, and the Quran and Hadith both show us that this is acceptable, what other reason are you going to present and say this is the reason why?
There could be many other reasons why, and that doesn't.
You said that already. Give me one of them.
Okay, I don't. It could be many reasons, not valid reason, but I don't know.
I don't want invalid reasons, bro. Give me something which is reasonable, more reasonable than the fact that the Quran and the Hadith allow it.
No, I'm saying nowhere in the Hadith is this guy beating his wife accepted.
No, in this Hadith.
In this specific Hadith, it's not validated.
What do you mean it's not validated? There's nowhere in the Hadith where Muhammad says he was wrong or anything along those lines.
No, he doesn't condemn it, but he doesn't accept it either.
Why would he need to accept it in this Hadith if the Quran has already accepted it?
Okay, so the question you're asking is about the verse in the Quran, right?
Well, obviously you're hung up on this. Well, why did he do it? And I'm saying, obviously, if the Quran says it's okay, then it's kind of just straightforward. It's like 1 + 1. Like,
that's not true. Okay, so shall we read the verse from the Quran?
Okay, we can read it after, right? But let me just read this again, because for some reason I feel like you're struggling with something which is straightforward, right? She comes to Aisha.
Yeah.
She's wearing a green veil, and she complains to Aisha of her husband and showed her a green spot on her skin caused by beating. It was the habit of ladies to support each other. So when Allah's messenger came, Aisha said, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing woman. And then talks about her skin is greener than her clothes, etc. etc.
Yeah.
Okay. And for some reason, you don't find it acceptable to link the fact that a Muslim man is beating a Muslim woman because the Quran allows him to do it.
Correct. Nowhere in this hadith does it specify that the reason for that the woman was beaten.
Okay, and I've said to you already, why would it need to say a reason? If you think about this, right?
No, it doesn't need to say a reason. It doesn't say a reason. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. So imagine you pray 5 times a day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what Muslims are supposed to pray 5 times a day. So imagine you're reading a hadith and it's talking about a guy or a woman, they're praying 5 times a day. It talks about a story and it says, oh, they prayed at these particular times, but it doesn't say they prayed 5 times a day or why they prayed 5 times a day. You would know as a Muslim who knows a bit about Islam to know, okay, cool. The reason they pray 5 times a day is because somewhere else in Islam it talks about praying 5 times a day, right?
That's a reasonable deduction, sure.
Thank you. Okay, so why is it not a reasonable deduction to say that the Muslim man beat his Muslim wife because the Quran allows him to do so?
Okay, that analogy doesn't really add up, because that analogy does not add up, because if we're talking about something like prayer, if prayer is mentioned, the reason for the prayer is the Prophet and the hadith. If someone, that's a prayer is a specific action to Muslims. Someone beating their wife is not a specific action to Muslims.
Why not? If Islam allows you to do it,
if
help me understand that.
Islam doesn't allow men to beat their wife. No, that's
Okay.
not correct.
All right, so we'll look at 434 in the Quran, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now we get on to the verse, right?
Okay. So
this is you admit this is the cause of confusion.
no, what do you mean? This is how?
Not
Okay,
the
let's read it anyway. So the hadith wasn't confusing to me, right? But
yeah,
it says men are the.
It's not confusing to me either. But
it says men are the protectors and maintain. Anyway, let me skip all this. It's not relevant, right? Just let me get to the juicy part.
yeah.
All right. So halfway through the verse,
I
it
mean,
goes.
no, you can't really. No, you can't really do that for.
Okay, I'll read all of it. Okay, cool. Men are the protectors and maintainers of women, because Allah has made one of them to excel the other, and because they spend to support them from their means. Therefore, the righteous women are devoutly obedient to Allah and to their husbands. That's in brackets, and guard in their husband's absence what Allah has ordered them to guard. More brackets. Okay. As to those women on whose part you see ill conduct, admonish them. Refuse to share their beds. Beat them.
Okay, what translation are you reading?
This is Hilali Khan, the one I'm reading right now. But if they return, and I'm not reading the brackets, which are obviously not there in Arabic. But if they return to obedience,
No. Why are you not reading the brackets?
I just told you why. The brackets are not in the original text; they're added there.
Well, no, they're a result of the translation.
No, well, that's someone who's trying to add their interpretation, which is not again from the original.
No, that's not an interpretation. That's a translation.
It's not. It's not.
It's a translation.
If it was a translation, bro, then all the translations will say the same. Right on top of this one is the Abri, and there's no brackets. It just says those who you fear rebellious, those who you fear are rebellious, admonish, banish them to their couches, and beat them.
What do the brackets say? Even if you want to disregard them, what do the brackets say?
The brackets say first, second, and then when it gets to beat them, it says lightly if it is useful. But that's not in the Arabic.
Yeah. Well, no, it is in the Arabic.
It's not in the Arabic.
How the Arabic words in Arabic, you can't directly translate them to English. But without context, that's the thing. This is why it's good, bro. Listen. This is
why it's good.
Word by word translation.
This is why it's good. This is why it's good, bro. Listen, this is why it's good to read a bunch of different translations, as I like to do, because when you read a lot of the different translations, number one, you can start to get a consistent theme of what they're talking about. So another translation says scourge them. That's pickthou. Another one says, where is it? Strike them.
Yeah.
Another one says beat them, and then has in brackets lightly. So they're all saying different things, but we can get a consistent theme of what it's actually saying. But the brackets,
they're not saying different things.
But the brackets are added in. They're not original.
That's not true. The brackets aren't added in. The brackets are a result of the translation.
My goodness, man.
Bro, come on, man.
This is basic.
No, you can't. Exactly. You can't read a translation and ignore and skip the parts that you want to skip.
Bro, I'm skipping the part which is not original.
Who says it's not original? It's part of the word. That's part of the Arabic word.
When Allah, according to you, sent Jibril to Muhammad with these verses, those brackets were not there, bro.
The verses were revealed in Arabic. Simple.
Yes, but those
Come on, man,
verse
this is basic.
that part wasn't there, bro. You do understand that, right?
It was there. It was there in the Arabic word.
All right, bro.
Come on, man. This is
Bro, we're gonna wrap it up here, man. Nah, bro, no. Bro, take care of yourself, man.
Come on.
You can't help someone who can't help themselves, man. Who doesn't want to be helped. Almost impossible. Mate, it's crazy, man. Before I get to the next caller, God bless you. For the super chat. You cannot come to me unless my Father in heaven first draws you. This is proof. Thank you, Lord, for entering my heart. Thank you. God bless you, bro. Appreciate you as always. All right. This is seemingly a problem for these Muslims. Right. We read the verses to them, and for some reason they're struggling. They can't deal with it. Right. CIA, chill out, bro. I'll bring you up next. All right, cool. Let's go to the next caller. Hello.
Oh, hello.
How you doing? You alright?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm blessed, man.
Yeah, okay. Good to hear.
How can I help
So
you?
your argument was about chapter 4, verse 34?
No, it actually wasn't, but we ended up going there. My
I
argument,
would like to just...
my argument is
sure,
a bit, my argument is a bit different. So, you don't agree that Islam is bad for women, and you don't think Islam
Well,
degrades women, right?
I really just came to refute that verse. If we can go on that topic. Do you
Yeah,
mind?
we're not talking about that topic. If we get back to that verse, then we can talk about the verse. But there's something else I want to talk about.
Okay.
So I read something to the last callers actually, both Muslims. And it's from Luke chapter 10, verse 40. Basically, Jesus is at a house, and the verse in question is about him and two sisters. And it basically just says he was teaching in the house, and it says at his feet was one of the sisters, Mary, who heard his word. And the reason why this is significant is because in that period in time, it was frowned upon. It wasn't a normal thing for women to sit at like a rabbi's feet and learn like a disciple. So it's an example of Jesus uplifting the women in his time, right? And obviously beyond then. Then I started reading a hadith. You accept the hadith, right?
I do.
Okay. So then I started reading Bukhari 5825, where it talks about Aisha. She says, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. So according to Aisha, when she's saying this, the Muslims are the ones that are suffering and struggling more than any other woman, right?
Yeah.
So Aisha would agree with me when I'm saying Islam is cooked for women.
That's your argument?
Yep.
Alright, so first thing, you can't use the Bible to just prove your religion because that would be circular reasoning. Okay.
What are you talking
Secondly,
about?
because you said that in Luke, whatever, Mary did something and that just shows how Jesus is good to women and stuff. You can't use the Bible to prove.
Does it show that or not?
It does, but you can't use the
Say
Bible
that again. Say that again.
What?
You said what? When I asked you, does it show it or not? You said what?
Yeah, it does, but you can't really use the Bible to prove.
All right, thank you. So, what do you think about what Aisha said, bro?
Well, she said, give me just a minute, I'll read the hadith, okay?
All right, cool. Bukhari 5825. These guys are struggling, man. You would think that this would be easier to deal with, but for some reason, it just short circuit.
What does this really prove? I have no idea.
What does it really prove?
Yeah, what does it really prove? That's the
Would-
question.
Would you agree, like, the way I think about Islam, right? I would think that Aisha, at least, like, even if you don't want to mention Aisha, you want to talk about the wives of the prophets as a whole, right? They would be, like, in the best position, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when a woman in the best position is saying she has not seen any woman suffering more than the believing women, you don't see the problem.
No, really, this cannot be the problem of the religion, but the people of that follow the religion. That's really it.
Okay. It can't be the religion, it's the people that follow the religion.
Exactly.
Okay, so the people that are following the religion are doing what the religion allows them to do. And that's why
Where does it allow the beating of women?
Pardon?
Where does it allow the beating of women?
When Muhammad ordered and allowed them to beat women.
Where?
There's multiple places. But you disagree?
Show me the verses.
Do you disagree or not, bro?
Disagree with what?
That Muhammad allowed and ordered the men to beat their women.
I disagree with that.
Okay, so if he did say that, then what are you going to say?
I'll definitely do some research because I don't think he really said that. Beat your woman.
So if he said that, then what are you going to do, bro? Answer the question.
I'll do research. I already answered it.
You'll do research.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll read another hadith to you then. This is Abu Dawud 2146. Abu Dawud 2146. It says the message. Sorry, hold on. It says narrated. It gives basically the names, and it says they reported that the messenger of Allah is saying, "Do not beat that Allah's handmaidens." Is that good or bad? Come on, CIA man, are you there or not? He's gone on walkabouts, guys. Apparently, Muslims are claiming that their hadith is inauthentic, guys. When they should know that I only quote or Sahih hadith.
All right, Sunan Abi Dawud 1246.
Yeah, so it's reported that Allah said, "Don't beat the handmaidens." Allah's handmaidens. Is that good or bad?
What does handmaid? Wait, let me just read it.
Handmaidens is like females, ladies. Don't beat the women.
Yeah, don't beat them. What's wrong with that?
Is that good or bad?
That's good.
Okay. Then it says, but. Say but, right?
Yeah, but.
When Umar came to the messenger of Allah and said, women have become emboldened towards their husbands, who does it say? The Prophet, right?
We're reading this from Sunan Abi Dawud 1246.
It says the Prophet, right?
When it says it could be referring to anyone in that context. So,
what does it say in the hadith, bro?
Which one?
It could be anyone in the context when it literally tells you who it is.
Wait.
What? It says he gave permission to beat them.
Something. Wait, can you pull it on your screen? I can't really see it.
Are you not looking it up?
I did.
So
where are you?
So it says he, the Prophet, gave permission to beat them. So what are you going to say now? And it's not an authentic hadith, it's Sahih.
Sunan Abi Dawud 1246?
2146.
Oh, 2146. I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
2146. I heard you say 1246, but it's fine. Do not be Allah handmaids, but when Umar came to the messenger of Allah, he said, women have become emboldened toward their husband. He, the Prophet, gave permission to beat them.
You gave permission?
The Prophet.
So you said firstly that Muhammad didn't say that. Now you're seeing that he did say it. You said that it was good when I read the first part of the hadith when it said, don't beat them. So it has to be good as well when he said beat them, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just to clarify something, what do you think when it says beat there? What do you think it means?
It means beat them.
Yeah, but in which way? Do you
Beat
think it
them.
allows breaking bones and leaving marks and causing
I
injuries?
didn't say it means breaking bones. I don't need to go to that extreme. That's irrelevant.
And what?
But
Go to.
but
Can you go to Sunan Ibn?
but one thing I definitely know is that Umar wasn't asking for Muhammad to give them the permission to bring the miswak out. That's definitely for sure.
Miswak?
Yep.
Do you know what's that?
I do know what a miswak is. I've got one myself.
Oh, so I heard scholars say that you can hit them with a miswak, which won't really do anything. But that's another point. Can you go to Sunan Ibn Majah, 1851?
Do you think that that's what Umar was asking for in this hadith for the miswak?
Yeah, hitting without leaving an mark or causing an injury.
Because the women were piping up and being rude. You think Umar was asking for the miswak?
Because some scholars said that you can only hit them with a miswak.
Why do you guys put your scholars over Muhammad and over the rightly guided caliphs?
We don't put them over Muhammad. We use them.
So why do you keep talking about the scholars saying it could be a miswak and all this kind of stuff when you clearly read this story and it doesn't sound anything like a miswak? Does this sound like he wants a miswak?
Well, first, what do you mean by us putting scholars over the Prophet? We didn't really.
So we can read the Sahih hadith like this, right? Which Muhammad says, listen. When Muhammad says, "Don't be the Allah's handmaidens," right? You said that's good. Okay. When Umar comes to Muhammad and says, "The women have become emboldened towards their husbands," Muhammad now gives them permission again to beat them.
Yeah, but can you go to Sunan Ibn Majah 1851?
Why do I need to go to a hadith which
it's related to our argument?
Just shows me that Islam is full of contradictions in its hadith literature. You think I haven't read that before?
Really contradicts. Can you go to Sunan Ibn Majah 1851?
You go to it if you want to go to it. I've read that hadith before. All it shows, the hadith you're talking about, all it shows at best is that there's contradictory stuff in the hadith, in the authentic Sahih literature, which doesn't help.
Where's the contradiction in this? Do you even know what a contradiction is?
Yes.
Yeah, it's when you say completely opposite statements that contradict each other.
Yes,
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
How does it contradict here?
Bro, are you gonna actually make an argument or what, bro?
Yeah, of course. Read it. It says without leaving an injury or causing a mark.
Okay, so
where's the problem?
So it's okay to beat a woman as long as you don't leave a mark.
Or cause an injury. Yeah. Where's the problem with this?
Okay. Enjoy Islam, man.
Enjoy Islam.
Hello.
Yes, my friend.
How can I help you, man?
Hello. I just want to know why you're here doing this, man, spreading hate and all this. What you getting out of it?
Why are you being racist for?
No, but what are you on here, offending Muslims and that?
Why are you on here offending Christians and offending people by being
You
racist?
shouldn't be spreading hate.
This is the guy, by the way, who's sending the racist comments. Why are you being racist for?
Why are you being very offensive towards Muslims and that?
Why are you being offensive to humanity by being racist?
Now look, mate, why do you find a proper job? Get some money, yeah? Because you're doing this for pennies.
All right, okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
don't spread hate. Does your mum know you're doing this?
Don't be racist, man. Be better than that. Be better than your prophet, man. Don't be racist. Of the specialist kind art. Amazing. He's literally being racist in the comments. And he has the cheek to call in and say, we're being offensive. Amazing. Hold on a second, guys. Get to next call in a second. All right. It's not the culture, it's the religion. I'm not talking about culture, guys. I'm only talking about what the hadith and the Quran say. Hello. Ibrahim. Hello, 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 Ibrahim. All right, Ibrahim, fix your connection, man. And try and call back in. These Muslims. Exactly. It's so hard. I don't understand why the Muslims can't get it. We love the Muslims. We hate the religion. We love the people. We're called to love all people. It's people who can't control themselves, who allow the religion to get the best of them. Hello. All right, we had someone jump in and jump out. The problem is with this comment, right? It doesn't degrade women are valuable in Islam. Women, Aisha didn't agree. She didn't agree with this. For some reason, the Muslims that I'm speaking to can't get around it for some reason. They can't deal with this simple passage. We don't hate you Muslims. We love you. This is why we do these conversations. This is why we spread the truth to you, despite the fact that on a weekly basis, every time we have these conversations, many Muslims are doing the same stuff. He's lying. They slander and say he's quoting inauthentic hadith when I'm only quoting Sahih hadith. I'm literally talking with Muslims now and showing why it degrades women, and even why people like Aisha agree that it degraded women and it wasn't good for women. But all that happens is, what do we see? We see the Muslims throw Muhammad under the bus, throw Allah under the bus, and run to their scholars and say the scholars are right. Muslims, come on, if you want to call in and have this conversation, Jeff, somebody block Jeff. He's still being racist. Let me do it, man. Jeff, you gotta go, man. Hello.
Yo, what's up, bro?
I'm blessed, man. Why are your Muslim brothers being so racist, man? I thought Islam is a religion of peace.
Oh, so we ain't got no racist Christians?
Yeah, there are racist people who profess to be Christians, but one thing I can say,
but you guys,
let me finish, bro.
You guys like
let me finish. Let me finish,
Muslims.
man. Let me finish, bro. What I was gonna say is,
you're already in bigotry. Why would I let you finish when you're already in bigotry?
How am I in bigotry?
Bro, just because one dude did something, we're not gonna take credit for it. If a Christian raped a girl, are we gonna, oh, the Christians are great? No, like, it's dumb. Like, give us something good, bro.
This is why I was gonna say before you started interrupting me, bro. I was gonna say, if a Christian is doing that, he's not gonna have grounds biblically to do that. He would be going astray. A Muslim can't say the same thing. So when a Muslim, like your Muslim brother's being racist, I know why he's doing that.
You know, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, despised racism on countless occasions, but we'll just sweep over that, act like it didn't happen.
All I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna bring it up now, but you can research it in your own time. Research
all
when
I'm trying to figure
research
out.
when
This is what I'm
Muhammad
trying to
sold
figure
2
out,
black
brother.
slaves for 1. Go and research that after.
Brother, look.
But okay, yeah, let's
I
get to
want
the
to have.
topic, man.
I want.
Let's get to the topic. Let's
Listen,
talk about the
listen,
topic.
brother. I want to have a real conversation with you, not what you have with all these other people, because I'm not like some guy that you're just gonna convince with BS. Like I wanna know you're an actual, real human being, bro. Because if you come at me with these arguments,
What
like
arguments?
this is elementary. This is honestly pathetic.
So if it's
Like you've got to be
elementary,
joking,
if
bro.
it's elementary, bro, it should be easy for you to dismantle, right? Right?
No, but I want the hard questions, bro. I really want to know what your problem is.
Okay,
Really?
so just like I spoke with the other Muslims, right? You're apparently so much better. This should be easy for you to wipe the floor with me. Jesus, in Luke chapter 10, verse 40, he was at a meal, right? He was at a particular house gathering, and the Bible says that there was a lady at his feet as a disciple, Mary, listening to what he was teaching. And the reason why this is significant is because in that period in time, this was the kind of thing that wasn't normal. It's an example of Jesus elevating the status of women. Now, when we get to Islam, which is obviously 600 years after Jesus, Aisha, the mother of the believers, on one particular occasion in Bukhari 5825, she said, let me actually switch it to the correct hadith. Give me a second. She said, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. So when Aisha said this, she would be in agreement with me, right? That Islam is bad for women.
You know, in a certain sense, I agree with her as well.
So she
But
would be in
only
agreement with me,
certain
right?
sense.
So in that sense, she would be agreeing with me, right? That Islam is bad for women when she said this.
No, that's taking it too far. The way I see it is that the closer you are to Islam, the more closer you are to the path of the prophets. That way, the more tests are going to come your way. So life is just going to be harder as a believer. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, life on earth is literally a prison for the believer, but it's a joyride for the disbelievers. Like, if you're a believer, you can expect a pretty, uneasy life. It's not going to be easy. But that's the only way I interpret that. To interpret it as, oh, Islam is bad for women, but Aisha stayed a Muslim till death. Make it make sense, bro.
All right. So
Let's
let's break this down, right? Step by step. Let's make it very elementary so it's easy for you to knock over and wipe out, right? So Aisha says, I have not seen. What does it mean to not see something?
You ain't seen it.
Okay.
It didn't happen in her vision.
Any woman. So of all the women Aisha's seen, she hasn't seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women.
Amen.
So believing women suffer more than any other woman Aisha's seen. Yeah?
Amen.
Okay. And
that makes sense to me.
Okay, so do you know the reason why what made her say this?
Let's hear the reason.
Do you know or you don't know?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
In particular, I haven't studied it.
So in the hadith, this woman who's married to a man, she comes to Aisha for support. And she's like, look, my husband beat me. So then she shows her, she's wearing a green veil, she shows her a mark on her body. Then the hadith talks about how it was the custom of the women to help each other, to support each other. So Muhammad comes along, and then Aisha now says this famous statement, I have not seen any woman suffering more than the believing woman.
Very well.
Okay. So Aisha, when she said this, would clearly have been in agreement with me that...
No, because if she was in agreement with you, this is what she would have said.
What would she have said? No one suffers more than the believing women. What would she have said?
Yeah,
how could she have said Islam is bad for women any better? Help me out.
If she was to agree with you, she would have said, she would have told that other lady, hey, you know what? This is what Muslims do. Just deal with it. But she said, oh, you're suffering and this isn't right. and this isn't correct. But Muslims are not expected to be perfect. We're humans. If he's whooping his girl's booty, it's obviously she's suffering. It's wrong. They didn't say, oh, just take it. This is the way we do. So unfortunately, bro, the only people that will come up here and listen to stuff like this, bro, is just people like you who they don't do their full research. They're emotionally attached. My only question is, are you actually a Christian, or are you a Mossad agent? Like, let's get to the juice, man.
Okay.
Like,
So
let's talk about something hard hitting, bro. What do you
hold on.
believe in, bro?
Hold on.
What do you believe in?
Hold on. This isn't hard hitting. Okay, so Aisha is in support of this Muslima and saying this is bad. And because she said it's bad, you've automatically assumed that Islam didn't make this acceptable. The reason the man is beating his wife is because the Quran and the hadith allow him to. So it doesn't matter what Aisha. It doesn't. No, I didn't. So it doesn't matter what Aisha says. Aisha could say Aisha's the same woman who said it looks like Allah just pleases Muhammad. Does that make it right?
You know what's funny?
What's funny?
Look at the statistics, right? How many cases do you have? Like, even like Saudi Arabia versus America, who has more domestic violence going on, my friend?
Do you really think?
Do you know in Saudi Arabia they don't have any thieves?
Do you really
like
think?
You can leave your iPhone out in public. Like, they don't have crime over there. You do realize that, right?
Okay.
Do you or no?
What does this have to do?
They don't have grades.
What does this have to do?
Because this is what.
What does this have to do? No, bro. We're talking about an example, and all you're doing is running away to societies. I don't know if Saudi Arabia or the place you're talking about is actually following the Quran and the Hadith. And this is the reason why this is significant, is because
you guys pick and choose.
This is why this is significant, bro. Because you literally said at the start of this call, don't just focus on don't just focus on anecdotes. So now I'm using your own logic against you. Now you're running away calling me fake.
No, I'm using your logic. If Saudi Arabia says women can't drive, oh look, it's an Islamic country. But if Saudi Arabia has no crime, free healthcare, free school, no grapes, no thievery, nothing, oh, it's not necessarily because they're a Muslim country. It's just because they're Saudi Arabia. Bro, just get off my live.
He's saying I should get off his live when he's on my live. Make it make sense, see? And he's still here, by the way, but don't worry. I'll nicely escort you out. My goodness, man. You use their own logic against them and they don't like it. They start short-circuiting. Okay. I apparently don't have proof that Islam is degrading to women, even though we've looked at one example over and over and over again, and none of the Muslims are able to handle it sufficiently. My goodness. All right. Hello. Musa.
Is there an age limit for this?
Pardon?
No or yes?
What did you say?
Do I have to be a certain age to do this?
Yeah, you do. Especially if you're calling in from this side.
Nigger, fuck, I'm 13 years old, I'm 12 years old, nigger,
You finished? All right, God bless you, man. Yeah, definitely, guys. Pray for him. Pray for that young boy. The same way we have to pray for the other guy, the man who called in earlier and was racist. There must be a reason why these Muslims keep doing this, right? Who did I block? I didn't block anyone except that racist adult, that racist man from earlier, who continued to be racist in the comments. Islam, guys, is a virus. You thought I blocked you even though you were writing comments. No, he definitely did sound like a child. That's why I said pray for him. He needs prayer. Because if he thinks that's a representation of how to call someone to a religion, he's got a lot of thinking to do. But that's why you have to pray for them, guys. Pray that they will come out of the delusion and deception. If you're a Muslim, click the link. You can call in. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm blessed. How are you doing?
I'm all right. So
What's
what
up,
is
man?
it says there, why does Islam degrade women?
Islam is bad for women, man.
Yeah. I
You
agree. There's
disagree?
a verse saying, I will lift up your skirt and put you into utter shame. There's another verse saying, you can pay 50 shekels if someone grapes your little girl that she has to marry him in forced marriage. Shall I give you more verses from the Quran, my friend? Or you've had enough?
All right, bro. All right, bro.
You just got
I got so cooked. I got so cooked, bro, man. Enjoy yourself. Misquoting and taking passages out of context isn't going to help you, bro. And especially trying to lie and deceive. Oh, it's from the Quran, blah, blah, blah. Come on, be better than that, man. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing? You alright?
Yeah, I'm good. I just wanted to start with I've been listening to the people coming in on here. They're pretty disrespectful and rude.
Don't worry about them, man.
So,
We pray
yeah,
for
so I just
them.
want to apologize for that. Yeah, I pray for them as well. I actually wear the niqab, so why do you feel like it degrades women?
I didn't say it degrades women. That's not what I'm talking about today.
But you have it as your prompt. Like you said, why does Islam degrade women? And then you have a lady in a niqab.
Yeah, because if you look, like, if you think of a Muslim woman, what do you think? What comes to mind?
A hijab, a niqab, yeah, sure, okay. So that's why you wanted to put it?
Exactly. So if you Google Muslim woman, what do you think is going to come up?
Okay, if that's your reasoning, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah,
why.
that's not my reason. Okay. You want to know one of my reasons?
Yeah, sure.
So just like I spoke to the other Muslims, you said you've heard some of it, so maybe you heard it, but I read something from the Bible where Jesus is at a gathering and it talks about how there was a lady, Mary, who was able to sit at his feet and hear his teachings, which is something which wasn't normal in the first century. It was actually it was frowned upon. So Jesus, this is an example of Jesus uplifting the treatment and the culture and the thinking around women at that particular point in time. Then I'm looking at the hadith, Bukhari 5825, where Aisha, the wife of Muhammad, says she has not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. What do you think about Aisha saying that?
I looked into that hadith because I've heard it before and stuff. So
what do you think about it?
I'm gonna just tell you Islamically, men are able to reprimand their women. That's something that we've known and stuff, and I'm not gonna shy away from that, and I have no problem with it. Now, as for somebody beating and causing bruises, that's something that's frowned upon in Islam. So there's actually a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where a lady is coming to ask him advice, and she has two suitors. She says, there's this man who's proposed marriage to me and this guy who's proposed marriage to me. And he tells her, as for the first one, he has this shortcoming, and the shortcoming he mentioned is that he says he has a tendency of hitting his woman very hard. So he advised against marrying her and against marrying him.
In the hadith, it actually says, just to help you out a little bit, there's a couple of different people. One of them, Muhammad says, don't marry him, he's poor. He hasn't got a lot of money. Then he says another guy, like you're talking about, he says, he has a habit of beating women, and then there's another guy, and then he goes marry the other guy. Okay, but I don't think that helps you as much as you think it does, because it's still an example of a Muslim man who beats his wife. Thank you
And
for
I'm
the
not.
gifts. Sorry,
Yeah,
go
that's
ahead.
what I'm saying that like, so that narration shows that it's something that was frowned upon. So when you're saying the hadith of the lady coming to Aisha, like the rest of the hadith was talking about how she was seeking divorce. So there's times where the ladies of the Salaf, they used to come to the Prophet ﷺ,
They used to come to Muhammad and what, sorry?
like complain about their husbands.
Yeah, I know. So in this situation, she's coming to complain because the husband is beat her, basically. And
Yeah, so and then by the end of the
obviously it's a
narration,
problem.
by the end of
Sorry, go
the
ahead.
end of the narration, when I was like looking at it, it was talking about how she was just trying to seek divorce from that man. So that's why she was. So he was claiming, the husband was claiming she was lying, that she was making this story up so that she could go back to her own husband.
Yeah,
But as for if you wanted to, sorry,
he made the claim that she's lying. Why should we take his claim over her claim?
I'm not trying to like talk about like we can't go back and be the judges of that story. That's why it was for the time for the Prophet ﷺ to judge between them, and he did.
But
So that has nothing to do with us.
This
now
is the
for
thing.
us in the Muslim.
Hold on. This is the thing, though, because it doesn't even really matter if she's lying or not. For the point I'm making, because Aisha still said what she said. I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing woman. So
And I think that's something that could be accurate between. Yeah, so I think that's something that could be said about all Muslims. So there's there's another hadith where the most people that suffer are the ones that are strongest in faith. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, I was the one that had the most suffering. He was an orphan. He had to live to see his family all dying. He had to be tested with the death of his first wife, Khadija. The people that are tested the most in this world are the ones that are the believers. Like, does that make sense? So we believe Islamically, yeah, Muslim women are obviously going to be tested the most and suffering the most.
Okay.
Whether because of their faith, and that's how Allah chooses the righteous among them. That's how Allah raises their rank to be more deserving of Jannah, if that makes sense.
So what was the reason why Aisha said this statement? What caused her to say this?
So she was saying that lady that came to her because of her suffering is being tried. She's saying that like she has bruises on her and she's being trialed. We're not saying that we're not saying that a man, for example, it's not morally correct for a man to hit his wife, for example, for it to be bruised. Islamically, for example, we can't even men can't even hit each other in the face. There was this narration of a guy that stepped on
what does men and men have to do with women?
I'm just giving you an example.
I know you're giving me an example, sister, about men and men, but that's different to what we're dealing with here. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm saying that because the narration specifically says like you can't hit somebody on the face, okay? So that's what the narration is.
Yeah, the narration says don't hit on the face because Allah made Adam in his image.
Exactly. So there's standard of what this reprimanding can be. So like let's say for example like what we're talking about, how you're saying like Islamically, or like you're saying Islam degrades women because they get hit by their husbands, if that's the argument you're making.
No,
right?
my argument is, the reason I'm saying this today is because Aisha said it. She hasn't seen any woman suffering more than a believing woman. And this is and what made her say this is a guy beating his wife, allegedly.
Yeah, exactly, allegedly. But also the reason why she's saying that is because she's saying that these women are being tried and tested, whether it's through bad husbands, whether it's through whatever the situation is. And
you do know that's your interpretation, right? It doesn't say that in the passage. And
I told you the evidence why.
And on top of that, how is help me understand how the Quran, the hadith, allow husbands to beat their wives, but this is now all automatically at the same time described as suffering.
Because when it's not done correctly, then yeah, it could be suffering. That's the whole point.
Okay, so if you beat them, so he didn't beat her correctly.
I'm not making the claim that he didn't beat her correctly,
I'm
but
asking you.
if there was bruises and it can be substantially like proven that he caused those bruises, then I think Islamically he didn't beat her in a way that was pleasing to Allah or pleasing to the Messenger of Allah or pleasing to Aisha. Therefore,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
what's the acceptable way? So, okay, hold on. Let's even go back. So, for you, it's okay for a man to beat his wife.
It's okay for a man to reprimand his wife.
Yeah, and part of the reprimand in the Quran would be to strike them, right?
Exactly, and striking. And now let's look at the definition of what that striking entails. Can we do that?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean specifically when you say that?
Okay, so I'm gonna go off a little bit, just on a little tangent, just to get back to this topic. Do you believe that it's okay for you to reprimand your kids?
Okay. So your wife is a child.
I'm asking a question.
Is a wife a child?
I'm asking you a question.
And I'm asking a question back. Is a wife a child?
No, she's not a child.
Okay, so what relevance does this have? Because you said yourself you want to go on a tangent. I don't want to go on tangents.
But it's a very good point. Just because, so Islamically, just like as you could reprimand your children, you could reprimand your wife.
Okay. So striking is okay. You're saying as long as they don't go beyond the bounds.
Exactly.
Okay.
And there has to be a type of steps that get to that. So like the person that said before, there's not really cases of domestic violence as much in Islamic marriages, even in the people in the West, like even the Muslims here, you don't see domestic cases coming out of Muslim households as much, because there is still like laws governing how you can strike that person. Same, for example, you're allowed to, or like people in society today, they might spank their kids, or they might do something to reprimand their kids. They might put them in timeout and then take other steps and whatever. Then there's the same thing for when a wife is disobedient to her husband.
Okay. So like a husband can discipline his children, he can discipline his wife.
Yep, 100%.
And you're okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. All right. So why
are you married? I have a question. Are you married?
I am. Happily
How
married.
do you deal? Do you call the shots? Or do you have the final say, or does your wife have the final say?
What difference does that make?
I'm just wondering.
So if I say my wife has the final say, then what are you going to say? I can't get her in check.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm just asking. So you're saying your wife, for you personally, your wife has the final say in matters?
No, I didn't say that. But my wife doesn't, like, I don't need to strike my wife, is the point.
You don't have to, exactly.
Under any circumstances.
And most Muslim men don't have to strike their wives either.
And I wouldn't strike my wife under any circumstances.
Okay, and then a lot of Muslim men wouldn't either.
But the difference is, this is the problem, sister. This is the difference. The Muslim man who's not doing that is, if he did do it, he would be in line with the Quran. If I did do that, I would be in contradiction to the Bible. That's the big difference. And that's the problem.
Okay, but so what would be the measures for you personally, just as an ask? If your wife, for example, disobeyed you, she's not listening, she wants to do what she wants, you're not able to talk to her, you're not able to, like, she's just going crazy and you're not able to control her.
What are the steps that you take?
Yeah, there is. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that there's steps Islamically, that there is steps. First, you try and talk to her about it. Then you try and boycott her when it comes to the intimacy. And then the last step is, if she's not listening and she's doing things that you have made very clear that is not aligned with you as the head of the household, as the father of the house, as the one in charge, are not pleased with, then the last step is, you're allowed to reprimand her in a way that, one, doesn't cause any bruising. Islamically, you're not allowed to bruise your wife or anybody. And the way that the Salaf have explained it is that literally you get a little like a toothbrush, and you can Yeah, miswak, and you just like tap their hand. You're not allowed to hit them on the face. You're not allowed to punch them. You're not allowed to cause them some great severe pain the way that people think beating is. So the definition of beating is not the same, if that makes sense.
You know, are you familiar with the hadith where it says Muhammad struck Aisha and
Yes,
caused
I
her
am.
pain? And caused her
Yeah,
pain.
it caused. Yeah, but to what extent?
Pain. It caused her pain.
Yeah, you could any type of if a kid gets spanked, he's gonna say that
Was
caused
that
me
wrong?
pain. No, I don't think it's wrong at all.
It wasn't wrong for him, as she says, to strike her on the chest and cause her pain.
She didn't say it was wrong, did she? So why do you say it's wrong?
That's a good question. Maybe I've got more, like I'm more aware of the situation. You know what I'm saying?
I think you're trying to govern, like you're trying to govern or put your moral compass upon somebody else that's not agreeing with you. Does that make sense?
I know what you're saying. I don't agree though, because the reason why I mentioned that specifically is because you talked about stages, right?
Yeah.
Where did Muhammad follow those stages in that hadith?
I think that Aisha is not allowed to probably leave the house without the permission of her husband, and she did, and she followed him and she spied on him. Spying upon your significant other is frowned upon and not allowed in Islam. It's
so if she spied on him, according to you and the stages, he should have came back home and told her off, right?
I think you're trying to once again. Another thing that you're not getting at, or like you're not seeing, is that also the Prophet ﷺ set a good example, and he taught us like what to do in situations.
So this is why I'm asking you about this specific example. You mentioned the stages. So
I did.
she spied on him, according to you. He came back to the house. Why didn't he go through those stages? Why didn't he speak to her and then vanish from the bed and then strike her on the chest and cause her pain? Why did he strike her straight away if there's stages?
There's a lot of things that we could look into. Was that revelation sent before that situation? Was it sent after that situation?
So before,
we can also look in. We can also wait. I'm not done. Wait, I'm not done. I'm not done on my sima. And another thing we can say is, first off, the Prophet ﷺ, he had different. Allah gave him different rulings than the rulings he sent. For example, the Prophet ﷺ was able to marry more than 4 women. Islamically, a man cannot marry more than 4 women.
Okay, so Allah, even though we have no reference of Muhammad having more power in this particular situation, for you, he's able to violate what the Quran says in that particular scenario, even though there's nothing in the Islamic sources which says he could strike a woman without going through the stages.
I don't know what you're trying to get me to say or do, but I'm just saying that the Prophet ﷺ, we see in his actions time and time again that he is the example that we follow, but there is instances where he might not be doing what was legislated for the rest of the Muslims. Does that make sense? So
I got when you said that the first time. I got when you said that the first time. So what do you have in Islam which says on this particular situation of beating or striking that he doesn't have to follow what the Quran says?
We have his action. I'm not saying that it has to be in a specific scenario, but I'm telling you that that's what happened. Yeah, he struck Aisha in the chest with his fist. Okay, I have no issue with that. Why is it an issue for you?
Because you mentioned the stages, and he didn't follow those stages. So if you're gonna say, okay, he has extra powers as we see in the Quran in the Hadith, okay, well, why can't it just be that it's not stages? And some of your Islamic scholars say it's not stages. That would actually make more sense.
Because why would I not? Why would I lie?
Why would you lie?
Who says it's not stages? Well, obviously,
what do you mean? There's scholars that say...
You're telling me there's not stages? There is stages.
There's scholars that say there's stages. There's also scholars that say it's not stages. It's just as simple as you can speak to them, or you can banish them from beds, or you can strike them. It's basically you have like this pool of these three options you can use at your own discretion based on the situation.
And what scholars say that? Just so I could know.
I can't remember off head. I think Ibn Taymiyyah says it, and there's someone else who says it as well. I'd have to double check, but
I'll look into that then.
But definitely look into it.
So why else do you think? Yeah. So why else do you think that Islam degrades women?
You ain't even got past this example, so why would I go to another one?
What do you mean? You just want to stay on the same topic? Can I explain to you why I think Islam doesn't degrade women?
All right, go ahead. You're actually the best caller, so I'll let you go and give me a reason. Go ahead.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you for that. So I'm going to say why Islam doesn't degrade women. Today in society, first off, I think today in society, women have been manipulated. They have been taken advantage of to the point where they dress in a way that literally is governed to make the men happy. They want to come out in booty shorts. They want to come out in bikinis. They want to come out and do anything just to please the men. And then when you ask them, why are you doing this? They're like, no, it's because that's how I want to dress. Okay, that's how you want to dress. Where is the morality in that? Why is your teachings, for example, whether it's Christianity or Judaism, not governing the way you dress? And something that I wanted to point out is Islamically, we believe that like the Torah and the Injil was given to the prophets before us. So we actually do see some snippets of women kind of almost dressing according to Islamic values, but like almost twisting it. For example, we see the Jewish women, they cover their hair, but they don't cover it in a way that they're supposed to. They say, oh, we're going to put on a wig. A little bit of a twist. Okay, the Christian women, they say, okay, we have to cover our hair, but only in the church. Sometimes we have to dress modestly.
What
so
makes
again,
you
it's
think
like you've seen.
The Bible doesn't talk about people dressing modestly?
No, I'm saying it does.
Yeah, so.
But I'm saying it's become twisted. It's become altered to the point where the people don't follow it.
So if you have like a Muslim lady who is dressing provocatively, you wouldn't say she's following what Islam teaches, right?
100%. I wouldn't. I would say that she's going against what Islam is teaching, and she will be accountable for that.
So in the same way, someone who is dressing provocatively and not dressing sensibly would be going against what the Bible teaches. So you saying this is something which Islam does to make women good or anything along those lines, unless you're like part of a lawless society, which you don't seem to be, I'm not, right? In the sense of, I don't believe just because people in a society dress a certain way, that has nothing to do with what the Bible teaches. That's just people doing whatever they want to do.
Okay, I guess I get what you're saying. So how does the Bible tell people to dress? Is my
modestly.
Question.
Modestly tells you to dress modestly.
Does it define the modest? Like, does it define it for them? Does it give them like types of? I'm just wondering, actually.
Yeah, obviously, yes. I'll just say yes, it does. Like, there's different passages in the Bible which speak about covering up and dressing a certain way and all this kind of stuff. So when you put it all together, it's the clear picture is, do you have to dress a way which is godly and modest? Not, and it's for men and women too, not just for women. So
yeah, and Islamically that could be that's the same thing, that men could be dressed modestly, but the test is also for women.
Obviously, we see a lot of the focus in Islam is on women, though. But
I'll tell you why, though, because women, we have this thing in our nature that, like, subhanAllah, like even for me personally, I see it. I like to be seen, whether it's for male attention or women attention. We have this tendency in our nature to want to have that validation. So that's why it's a test for us, where it's like Allah's like, okay, now you have to protect that and preserve that for your husband, and you have to dress in a certain way, and you have to do this. That's why it's a trial for us. That's why we have to see, like, are we going to follow the legislation, or are we going to follow our desires?
All right.
So, I actually think that's something beautiful that you're saying, that in the Bible it also mentions to dress modestly. Wouldn't that show you that, like, in some way, shape, or form, that connection to Islam, the way that it's shown now that, like, yeah, the most modest woman today, or like, obviously, or gives the most modesty to women right now is Islam. Doesn't that show, like, some type of connection to you, that, like, maybe that there was some type of similarities between the scriptures at one point, and that there is some type of connection?
Not really. Like, there's similarities between a lot of different people, even groups that are diametrically opposed. So if there's one or two similarities here and there, I'm not gonna say, oh, this means we're close or it means we're similar. What do you think
But I
about?
don't know.
What do you think about this comment? Right, someone saying the word strike actually means to separate. Do you go with that interpretation?
No.
I don't either. Why don't you go with it?
Because I've actually studied like the Arabic, like the ayah of that part and the tafsir, and I've looked into it, and it explains to you what that striking is. And it governs also when it comes to like dealing with children. You still have to strike them in that same manner. So that's what's so beautiful about Islam. Like, it's not like the striking is also defined. The way you act in a time of anger is also defined. And that's why I was like saying that whole point about how the lady was coming to Aisha to complain, to seek divorce. Why would she do that if she thought it was legislatively okay for her to be bruised? She would just be like, oh, this is just what I have to deal with and I'm just going to complain. No, she was seeking counsel. She was seeking to get that divorce. And that's why Aisha went to the Prophet ﷺ. It was frowned upon.
Hold on. You're saying if it was bad, why would she come and complain about it and say she wants to get divorced?
No, I'm saying if it was not bad. That she was getting striked in a way that caused bruising. The whole point was that she was trying to seek a way out of this marriage.
Yeah, the whole point is he beat her and she's not happy about it. She wants out.
Yeah, and that's why it would have been granted to her if, for example, like right now, Islamically, if you go to Saudi Arabia, one of the reasons for a woman to seek divorce, there's something called khula and there's something called talaq. Talaq is initiated from the man,
I
and
know what
khula
that
is
is.
initiated.
That's another reason why Islam is bad for women.
Why?
Because the grounds for divorce are different for men and women. Men can do talaq and women can't. Women have to go and ask for a divorce and that's not even guaranteed to them. Men can just say talaq, triple talaq, and it's over.
Yeah, and I think that's actually so important. That's actually a good point and topic of discussion we could get into, actually. I think it's, for one, women are always emotional. If you see in the US, most divorces, I think there's probably a study, but I think 80% of divorces are initiated by women. So women in a time of like, when their emotions get the best of them and they're not thinking clearly and they're not like thinking of the benefits of the harms of what they say or the benefits of the harms of the actions that they do, they act on that emotion. And it's not grounded by revelation. It's not grounded by scripture, where men sometimes, even in the most crazy of events, they still have that type of control more when it comes to emotions. Does that make sense? So they can have that sound reasoning, where sometimes women, we really don't have that sound reasoning. We'll jump to conclusions, we get angry, we get frustrated. So if the divorce was in our hand, there's even narrations from the Salaf, like, or from the past, the earliest Muslim generations, where if it was in the woman's hand, people would be getting divorced left and right. Like, they would just, and that's not something that's good at the end of the day. Like, we don't want the family structure to fall apart. Islam came to preserve lineage. It came to preserve the family structure.
Okay, so according to you, because women are typically more emotional than men, that's why it's a good reason for men to be able to do the triple talaq, divorce, and exit a marriage. But a woman can't do that. She has to make an appeal, basically. I want to get divorced and have it signed off by someone else. Men, you don't think men are ever irrational or ever emotional or vent and do stuff out of anger?
No, I do. I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm saying that they might have, in the time of frustration, they might still have some type of reasoning and logic when it comes to that. And that's just my opinion. I see that in men, and I think, I don't know what type of men you hang around. Personally, and the men that I know, I think that they are very more reasonable. For example, I'll tell you a personal story, where, for example, my sister-in-law and my mom get into big, huge fights, and my dad's the only one controlling the situation, where he calms it down. You know? Or the husband, he calms it down between his mom and his wife. So I think that that's something that just shows you the nature of women. Sometimes they don't see the benefits of the harms. They might strike their mother-in-law, or they might cause big families to, like, big issues in families, or like so much drama. Even when you hang around women, they just talk to each other and they cause so much drama that when you hang out with men, or like when men hang out with men, they don't have that. They could have a fight one day, then the next day they'll be friends.
What about you? Are you all of these things you're talking about?
Yeah, of course, it's in my nature. I'm not gonna deny it, but I try and but I try and control it. I try and govern my thing with. I like to keep my emotions in line with Islamic teachings,
Look,
and that's what I try and do.
I'll be real. Like, I like you, man. I think you have more control of your emotions than a large majority of the Muslim men I speak to. So,
thank you. That's nice. Do you want to talk about anything else before I go?
Nah, you know what? You can call back in another time if you want, because I talk about this topic quite regularly. So maybe next time call in again if you want as well, right?
Okay, and if there's any other discussion, I'd love to tell you. If, for example, you're Christian, I'm guessing?
Yep.
Do you know what Islamically we believe about Jesus?
The wrong thing. But we can
Okay,
we can leave that for another day, man. We can leave that for another day.
But I just wonder, have you read all the verses about him?
Yeah.
Okay. That's just something I think is interesting, because I feel like if somebody read the verses and learned about it, it's just a clearer depiction of who Jesus was. But we'll keep that for a different day. Have a good day.
All right. God bless, sister. All right. Take care. Wow, guys. Why can't all the conversations with Muslims be like that, man? It would be so much better and so much easier to have conversations. Isn't it amazing that of all topics, guys, it's a Muslima that brings out the best conversation? We don't need to shout at each other. We don't need to insult each other. We can just have a nice, cordial conversation. We can reason together. She's got more reason, and I just put it like this. She's definitely got more reason than Muhammad thought the women did. I'll leave it at that. But God bless you, sister. Very good conversation. Hope to talk to you again soon. All right, come on, Muslims. We need to keep that same sort of energy. Any Muslim who's calling in, be just like that Muslim who called in, man. So, what was actually interesting about that convo, though, for the most part? The part we spoke about Muhammad striking Aisha, and she was like, well, Muhammad did have exceptions, which is true. He did have exceptions. He could do stuff that other Muslims couldn't do. And she gave a good example of he can marry more women than any of the other Muslims. But this is why I went into it with the stages, because there are scholars who, and she seems quite studied as well, which is also good. It's like normally when you speak to a lot of these Muslims, instead of just accusing you of lying and stuff, she didn't do that. So she knew a lot of the stuff. Not everything, obviously, because there were times where I was helping her out, but let's see what this Muslim's got to say. Hey?
Oh my god, poop, creamy poop, yummy poop, tasty poop, 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 poop.
What's your problem, your obsession with excrement, man?
Poop, 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 poop.
You finished?
Poop, 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 poop. Poop.
right, God bless you, man. Don't look down. If you let immature people come up, you get immature answers. Well, you never know who's going to come up. You never know what they're going to say. You never know who's going to be immature, right? Yeah, he definitely got sent somewhere. I can't send him to Mecca to kiss the black stone though, damsel, but I had to definitely send him somewhere. After such a good call, it's a shame that we went back there. How you doing, Iron? God bless you.
Poop, 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 poop.
All right, let's give them another round of applause. God bless you, man. Calling in with a different account. Amazing, guys. The funniest thing, guys, when he's calling in and saying poo, 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 one of the first things I thought of, right? Let me know if anyone thought of the same thing. When he was first saying this, I was thinking about when Muhammad is telling the Muslims to drink camel urine. That's why I asked, like, what's the obsession with excrement? He's calling in and repeatedly saying poo, 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 poo. But Muhammad was telling the Muslims to drink camel urine. So there has to be some sort of connection with excrement that these lot have, where they're just, I don't understand why he would continue to sing and scream it. But Puritan says he was thinking about Muhammad's followers eating his poop. Listen, guys, yeah? For those of you who don't know, Muhammad's followers did some crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. For my women out there, right, who are all into perfume and all of that good stuff, the Muslims would take Muhammad's sweat, guys, and they would put it in a bottle and they would spray it and be like, it's the greatest fragrance. No lie, guys. No cap. And I think there is even a hadith. I can't remember if it's Sahih or not, where someone drank Muhammad's urine. Muhammad would do what he's doing in like a bowl, and then they were wondering, where's the bowl gone? And this woman said she drank it. So I have to pray for these guys. All right, come on, Muslims. If you want to call in, I saw someone saying earlier, can I call? Yes, you can call. Click the link and call in. Let's have some more conversations. Let's hope this isn't the same person and trying to call in on another account. Hello?
Hello, man.
How you doing? You blessed?
Yeah, good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm cool, man. What's up?
Yeah, just I don't know why you're saying that Islam degrades women. Is that just you something building in your head or something? Building stuff in your head or something?
Aisha said that she'd never seen any woman suffering more than the believing women. So I think when she said that, she would have been in agreement with me. Don't you?
But how come when I spoke? How come when I spoke to you about this 2 months ago, you're still in the same topic? Is that the only thing you have to say?
When did I talk to you about this 2 months ago? And even if I did talk to you about, this particular thing 2 months ago, if it's so easy, wipe it out, bro.
I just wanted to see. Yeah, whether you would still stick to the same topic or you would have something else against Islam. Yeah, because we had a whole long debate about this. Yeah.
The funny thing is, bro, I haven't spoken about this in ages.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2 months is ages.
I've spoken about loads of different stuff. So if somehow we did speak about this months ago,
give me something else, bro.
Handle it now.
Give me something else, bro. I did handle it. I had a long. That's what I'm saying. I had a long debate with
Okay,
you about
okay.
this. Yeah.
What did
But I just find it
what did
funny,
you apparently say in this long debate, bro?
bro.
You
Listen to me,
short-circuited,
yeah?
guys.
Listen to me, bro. First of all, yeah, I'm asking you a simple question. We spoke about this together 2 months ago. Yeah. Have you got anything else other than this? Because it's funny that you mentioned the same thing after 2 months. So have you got something other than
can
this?
you deal with this?
I did deal with it. That's
Have
what
you
I'm
ever
trying to
heard?
say to
Have
you.
you ever heard of the statement? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Cool, bro. You want to go that way? We can go that way. So you just said, yeah, Aisha said that she hasn't seen, what? Sorry, repeat that again.
Any woman suffering as much as the
Okay.
believing women.
Okay, and where did you find this?
So she would be in agreement with me, right?
No, where did you find this? I'm saying you must have some sort of evidence, a verse or whatever, you know, to make your statement. No?
What do you think about what she said, bro?
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to figure out, bro. Where did she say this? When did she say this?
I'll tell
Is
you
there a
after.
verse?
Tell me what you think first.
Bro, I can't tell you about. I can't tell you what I think about something that's not even true. First
See,
of all, you have to prove to me that it's true.
So I'm lying because you don't know where it is. It's
I
not
don't
true,
know, bro.
yeah? This is
No,
this
no,
is
that's what I'm
this
saying.
is this
If you
is
can't
why
prove it,
this
it's
is
not
why
true.
with Muslims I like to ask you what you think first, because when you give me a more honest answer first, and when we get to the resources, you're gonna now start doing patchwork and mental
Okay, that's fine,
gymnastics and all
bro.
this kind of
So
stuff.
let
What do
me
you
ask
think
you
about
this,
what
yeah?
she said, bro?
Okay, so let me ask you this, yeah? What if I ask you a question about something that doesn't even exist? How would you know it exists if I don't prove to you that it exists?
Whether it exists or not isn't the point. It's whether or
That
not
is
you
the
have
point,
it's
because
whether
one
you have
second,
it's whether you have an opinion on it or not.
One second, why would I have an opinion on something that doesn't even exist? First of all, I'm asking you,
Because you're a
yeah,
human,
can you
bro.
prove to me?
Imagine if I
So
say
one
to
second.
you, what do you think about Muhammad ordering his men to beat their wives? What do you think about
Yeah,
that?
but one second. In order to figure out whether Muhammad was even real or not, I need to figure out whether who Muhammad is, first of all.
So
For you to be talking about
you're not a
Muhammad, I
Muslim.
need to. What? No, you don't understand him, bro. All my days, bro. You just said, yeah. If you ask me a question about Muhammad, yeah. If let's say, for example, I wasn't a Muslim and I don't know who Muhammad was,
you are a Muslim.
No? But that's not the point, bro. I'm asking you
do you
in
accept the
simple
Quran?
English, yeah. Of course I do, Alhamdulillah. But
Do
bro,
you
I'm
accept
giving you
the
a
hadith?
it's a hypothetical question. I don't think you understand, bro.
I understand, bro.
I'm asking.
Do you
I'm
accept
asking
the
you in
hadith,
simple
bro?
English, bro. If I ask you about something, yeah, that doesn't even exist, and you answer the question, what's the point of that? Because you don't even know if it exists or not. It's pointless. So that's what I'm trying to ask you. Can you prove to me that this is even true? First of all, for me to even give an opinion on it.
Do you
That's what I'm
accept
trying
the
to tell you.
hadith?
Of course I do, bro. But you're not understanding the point. It's a hypothetical question. You don't understand. Do you
Okay.
not know what a
Okay.
hypothetical question is?
I
Or do you
do.
not understand?
The statement
Okay,
is in
so
the statement is in the hadith, bro.
Okay, what verse,
So
what part
now
of the hadith is it?
now tell me what you think about it.
But you just by you saying it's in the hadith doesn't prove that it's in the hadith. Give me the
I can show it to
chapter,
I can give you the reference
yeah,
after.
please do,
But
bro.
I
No,
can
why
give you,
after, bro?
Because I want
Why after?
I want your honest opinion before you change
Brother,
up, bro.
brother, no, listen, bro.
I
don't try to
I can't even bank on the fact you're going to give me an honest opinion now because
brother, listen to me. First of all, yeah, you're basically trying to trap me, but that's not gonna happen because
how am I trying to trap you?
I'm a logical person, yeah. If you can't prove to me something exists, I'm not gonna give my opinion on it. If you can prove to me exists, I'm gonna give my opinion on it. That's it. Because for me, it's pointless, yeah, to give my opinion on something that you can't prove that exists. Simple as that.
Okay, so
first prove to me that exists, bro.
Okay. Bukhari 5825 says, Aisha said to Muhammad, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. So according to Aisha, the Muslims suffered and went through stuff more than any other women.
Okay. So you made a statement, right? And what is the point behind your statement?
My point is what Aisha said. I'm quoting what Aisha said. Now you deal with what she said.
Okay, but you're quoting something, but you must have a point behind it. What's the point of you quoting something? Like what? So you just want to hear my opinion, that's it?
Yes.
Is that the point? So
Yes.
basically you ask people questions about Islam just to hear their opinion. So basically you just want to hear people's opinions on something.
Look.
Is that it?
Look. I believe.
One second.
Listen
What's your
to
goal,
me.
bro? Are you
Listen to me.
trying to learn about Islam, or are you trying to just nitpick like things out of Islam and then just hear people's opinions on it?
Why is it nitpicking? Why is it nitpicking?
It is nitpicking because you're picking and choosing.
Why is it? How am I picking and choosing? What's the problem with what I'm doing?
Because the point is, yeah, I'm gonna answer you like I did last time, yeah, okay, and
go ahead,
and you're gonna hear my you're gonna hear my opinion on it, and you're just gonna start on another topic. That's what's gonna happen. You're not interested in learning about Islam. You're not interested in, like, converting to Islam. So you just want to hear people's opinions on what you think.
If you give me a good, reasonable, sound answer, it'll be something I can think about.
Okay, so Aisha saying that is more important than anything else that is in Islam, basically.
It's not more important, but this is what we're talking about today. So can you stop running and just deal with what I said?
I'm on it, bro.
So answer the question, bro. What do you think about? What do you think about what Aisha said, bro?
Brother, let me speak here. If it makes you happy, I'm gonna tap the follow button here. Yeah, you can see my name on the bottom here, bro. I'm not a runner, bro. Yeah, I spoke to you 2 months ago. I didn't run. I finished the whole topic, yeah, and then you switched to another topic. And then I just thought, bro, you're just running, bro.
What did I switch to?
Bro, this was 2 months ago, bro. Well, how do you expect me to?
You're so confident that I apparently had this conversation with you and then ran to a different topic, but you don't know the topic.
Bro, the title is so direct here. Why does Islam degrade women? Just makes me, like, know what you're going to talk about. You're either going to talk about Aisha.
Did it bring back the flashbacks?
You're either going to talk about... Sorry?
Did it bring back flashbacks?
Of course it did, bro. Of course, your title shows that, bro. Clearly. You're not talking about anything else in Islam. You're just talking about why does Islam degrade women. Bro, First of all,
I did a live stream. I did a live stream a few days ago about Allah in the Quran verse, the God of the Bible, bro. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Like, bro, just answer the question, man. Stop running. We're wasting time.
Bro, I don't
gonna move on to another caller.
Bro, I don't follow you like that.
Come on, man.
Yeah, anyways, I'm on the topic,
bro.
I'm on the topic, bro. But yeah, it's just so funny, bro, how you're gonna hear my opinion on something, and then that's gonna make you want to convert to Islam or learn about Islam.
Give me your opinion, bro, man.
Yeah,
people are already saying man. Kick you off. I'm about
kick me off, bro.
I'm about to comply with
it. All they can say because they know I can answer. 1 second, bro. You said that it's in the hadith, yeah? Cool.
Right, let's vote, guys. You lot just say yes or no in the chat. Should we drop him or not?
Cool, bro. What did you say? What
yes or no, guys? Bukhari 5825.
Bro, forget the guys, man.
Just
now
type
running,
yes
bro.
or
Why
no.
You listen to the
just
guys?
type yes or no
Why
if you want him gone. Or
yeah,
you want
okay,
him
they're
to
gonna
stay.
tap yes and you're gonna drop me. Bro, you're a pussy.
No,
bro.
look, someone said, alright, can you watch
Don't drop me, bro. I'm here, man. I'm here. What do you mean? Go and give me the chapter and that.
I gave you how much time?
Bro, forget the time, man. Stop running, man. You're a man. You're not a man, bro. Stop being a sissy, man. Listen to my answer. Why you gonna drop me because of some next man that don't even follow you, bro? Allow it.
I asked you already.
Yeah, go on, bro.
I asked you already. Give me your answer. Give me the answer.
Yeah, bro. Give me the chapter, bro. I need to read it as well.
I
need
gave
to
it
analyze
to you already.
It,
5825 Bukhari. You said we had this conversation months ago. Somehow you don't know what the response is, though.
Bro, how am I supposed to remember every single thing?
Just because I remember what we spoke about. You said you dealt with me 2 months ago on this topic, but somehow you don't know what you said.
Yeah, but did I say I remember each and every single thing? No, I nowhere did I say that. Anyways, let's go back to the topic, yeah? So you said Bukhari 5825, yeah? Okay. So it says here, details the case of a woman named...
Yeah. Don't worry, that was you getting dropped into the tunnel. My goodness. Stalling indeed.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi. I'd like to argue the fact that all of the points that you could possibly make around Islam degrading women can be debunked and also exist in Christianity to an extent.
Okay.
So if you could give me a point also about the hadith about Aisha.
Okay, so Aisha said...
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm familiar.
In Bukhari 5825, she has not seen anyone suffering more than the believing women. So according to Aisha...
So when you say... Yeah,
what did you say?
Of course. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
What did you say?
So I'm sorry for interrupting you, but...
what did you say before that?
I was going to say that I was familiar with the hadith because I heard you talk about it before.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. So I'm actually not familiar with the hadith itself. I've not read it anywhere. However,
Didn't you just say you're familiar with the hadith?
No, I said that I was familiar with the hadith because you said it, but I hadn't read it myself.
Okay, perfect.
So basically what I think about that is the fact that Muslim women around the time, as well as all other Muslims, were actively being persecuted. And if I do not get some other context about the hadith, then that will be the reason why I believe that Aisha said that.
Okay, well, the context in the hadith is that a husband was accused of beating his wife. That is what made her go to Aisha, and that's what made Aisha say that statement.
Okay, so
Okay,
if we
perfect.
do go to like the Islamic interpretation and Islamic jurisprudence, sorry, it's a long word. Yes.
On the
Domestic
hadith.
abuse is no Islamic jurisprudence is what I'm going off right now. You can say that domestic abuse is a sign of divorce, and I'm also aware of the fact that this concept of divorce doesn't even exist in Christianity, except if the man initiates it, or because I've read in the Mark, or I think it was Luke,
In the Mark.
that Mark or Luke, the book of Mark or the book of Luke, that if a woman were to divorce her husband and marry someone else, then she has
why are you
committed
running?
adultery.
Why are you
I'm
running?
sorry, I'm speaking fast. Why are you running?
I'm not running,
So
you're running. Why are you running?
and
Gone somewhere.
in Mark or in Luke,
Why are
there
you
is a
running?
verse. Am I running?
You said when you first called in, other than saying, okay, perfect, you said that the stuff which we're talking about is in the same, it's the same in Christianity. So
Yeah, right. That's what I said.
where's the thing which is the same in Christianity in regards to what Aisha said? Where do you see
In regards to
Christian
what Aisha
women?
said,
Where do you see Christian women saying things like the Christian women are suffering more than everyone else, based in this sort of context?
well, I haven't heard someone personally say that, but I think that it exists blatantly.
Where? I don't care about what you think. Give me the proof.
Oh, okay.
Because you made
I
a
think
claim.
that no, I actually do believe that you were just pressing the other guy here about his opinion on something.
Yes,
And you're also asking for my own
his,
interpretation.
I want his opinion based on actually something tangible, not just made up stuff. So you can't just say.
So what is wait
so
wait
so
what
you
is
can't
made up about
listen.
the fact
Listen.
that
You
Christian
can't
women
say.
can't divorce?
You can't say this stuff you're talking about is the same in Christianity, and then when I ask you to show me something which is the same, you're saying, well, I think. Give me some evidence
Evidence that
that backs up the
reason is
claim that
for
you
the
made
hadith. The
earlier
hadith
on
is
that
what confuses me, because
what
if we
confuses you
do
about it?
what confuses me with hadith is that in Islamic jurisprudence, and even Muhammad, the Prophet himself, says that domestic violence is bad. He condemns domestic violence.
Where does he condemn domestic violence?
He also says that the ones who are good are the ones who are good to their women's, to their women or to their wife.
Yep.
God.
That's the
right?
same hadith.
And there's
in that same hadith, that's the hadith where he's ordering the men to beat their wives.
no, he doesn't. Never orders the men to beat their wives.
Yes.
I am aware of the fact that one of them said
Yes, he does.
there was a man. What?
The hadith you're talking about, where he says
So
those
there's
that beat their wives are not the best of Muslims. He doesn't even say it's bad. He just says they're not the best of Muslims. But that's the same hadith where Muhammad is literally allowing and ordering the men to beat their wives.
Again, ordering and allowing are not the same thing, first of all. And then second of all, we can go to the fact that in that hadith there was a specific man who asked.
So if he ordered it,
Yes.
then it would be wrong. But if he allowed it, it's okay.
No, I haven't said that yet.
So that's why I just asked you, because you made a distinction. You said there's a difference between ordering and allowing. So unless
that is a true statement, however.
Okay, okay. So
subjectively true.
So that's why I asked you. If he allowed it but didn't order it, then it's okay. But if he ordered it, what's your stance on if he ordered them to beat their wives?
Perfect. So, from what I've heard, I'm sorry. From what I've heard, there is, in that hadith, in the same hadith, I don't know who it was, but someone was asking the Prophet, that someone told the Prophet that their wives were misbehaving, so on and so on, and because at the time you weren't allowed to beat them, and they had to ask for permission, right? So he asked for permission, and then after that, the wives came to him and they told him that, hi, our husbands are beating us and they're not being nice and they're doing this and that, and then he condemns them. He actively condemns them.
Muhammad says, don't beat the Muslim women.
It wasn't how could it be
that
allowed
good or bad?
before? No, how could it be allowed before? Like, hold up, how could it be preliminarily allowed if someone has to come up to him and ask for him to make it a law?
Muhammad says, don't beat the women.
Yes.
Okay. Then Omar...
That's what I'm saying. Or he condemns it.
Then Omar says, but the women are being rude. Order them to be beaten.
Right. And he does temporarily until the woman come back to him.
So he did order them to be beaten, right?
Temporarily until the woman came back to him with the feedback of his decision, and then he actively condemns them.
So he said, "Don't beat them, and then it's not. You're not really the best if you beat them."
And he said, "Don't beat them."
Do you see the problem? Don't
Fine,
beat them. Beat them. You're not the best if you beat them.
Right? How could that work? How could you say like it's not the best? And how do you know how large this restriction really is, or his opinion on it? You can't just go from one singular hadith and then see the consequence of that hadith from the hadith alone. So
do you see the problem in that hadith though?
I do see a problem if domestic violence wasn't a valid purpose for divorce in Islam, but it is. So
okay, so
that hadith alone,
hold on. So the women that complained, they went to the house, Muhammad's house, after all the husbands started beating their wives again. Why didn't they just divorce them instead of going to complain?
I don't know. There might have been other. Do you think that I knew these women personally? If we go to Islam, a man is obligated to provide, maybe, for example. So maybe she doesn't have a job of her own, or other examples like that. Or maybe they just want to stay with their husband, but they don't want the beating. I don't know these women personally, and I can't judge this.
Okay, perfect. So back to what you were saying before, right? Because I still haven't got the answer from you about this distinction between allowing and ordering.
Right. So when you say that the word ordering, it means that he says, go beat all of your wives right now. Or go beat your wives. This is not true. It says, that's what ordering means.
If Omar says, order them to be beaten. So basically, think about this, right? In the hadith, Muhammad says, don't beat them, right?
Right.
So that's a command, it's an order from Muhammad, right?
Right.
So they can't go and beat their wives at that point. If they go and beat their wives after Muhammad has said don't do that, they're going against Muhammad. They're in the wrong, right?
Right. Yeah.
So when Omar comes back to Muhammad and says, "Look, these women are getting too rude. They're too bold. We can't beat them up anymore, or whatever." So now, which makes sense. That's why they would now start being disrespectful and whatever, because they know they're not going to get beat. Order the beating of them. So when they go to beat them again, they could only do that because Muhammad has now said it's okay, right?
I guess so, but then when the wives came back, it didn't really work in the same way.
Oh my goodness, what do you mean you guess so? When you just agreed with me, when he said don't beat them, it was an order, it was a command.
Right.
In order for them to go and beat them, he has to now create a new order or command, right?
When I say I guess so, what I mean is that guessing, not really guessing, but I suppose that is a correct statement.
Why are they calling you
so
an
that
atheist?
You interpreted what?
Because why are they calling you an atheist? Because you're telling the truth.
Who is calling me an atheist?
I assume it's a Muslim, one of your Muslim brothers.
How does that make me an atheist if I believe in the only God?
I don't know. It's amazing to me, but to me it seems like you're doing a good job for the most part. In fact, you're doing a perfect job for the most part.
That's supposed to be insulting? Does that mean that I'm not defending correctly?
No, you're doing good, man. You're doing good. You're doing good. Perfect job. Perfect job.
Either way, so if we go to the original point and we leave the hadith aside and we go back to it later.
Yeah.
How do you believe that Islam degrades women? Otherwise.
Because Aisha said so.
If we were right, but have you only made, is that your only claim regarding it?
Right now, yes, that's my only claim that Aisha said it is. So I'm letting Aisha do the heavy lifting for me today. Aisha
I don't think that you should let one hadith do that.
Okay, so what about, I spoke about this with another Muslima. It's amazing that the Muslims are giving the best conversations today. No offense.
Thank you.
But we talked about the hadith where Muhammad struck Aisha on the chest and caused her pain.
Yes, I'm aware of this hadith, and actually the word there is used for a very small amount of pain. Aisha herself said that she did not feel the pain. It might be like close to a pinch.
Wait, hold on. Okay, perfect. So you said she said she didn't feel the pain.
I'm saying that it was equivalent to one of a pinch.
Based on what?
Based on the wording in Arabic.
The word, what about the word makes you believe that?
Because the word is a subtle word that is used.
The word is
and
what?
I've heard other interpretations say that.
Yeah, but if you've studied this as much as you're playing out to have studied it,
Oh.
and I'm not even gonna say dispute that, but you would also know that that word doesn't just mean like some little strike or a little pinch like you're talking about.
No, that's how it has been interpreted.
Interpreted by who?
Mainstreamly.
Whether I don't care if it's mainstream. It's more truth is what matters, not how many people believe it, right?
Well, I guess
Right?
that if you were to confirm a source, then you would need a lot of people to confirm it, and that's why I need people to rely on when I study, obviously.
Like,
So
I'll
that's
give you an
saying if a
example.
lot of
Like, loads of people, most of the people on the planet don't believe God exists. Should we just take it?
that's an objectively false statement, considering that there's maybe 8 billion people in the world and like 2, maybe 4 billion Muslims and Christians only together, which means that a majority of the world actually does believe in religion.
No, I'll disagree, but okay. So,
Either way, so about the hadith, there are multiple interpretations, mainstream and also not mainstream, that do say that it was a very, very slight pain, and it's not because he was like mad or because he
okay.
wanted to like. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, but in the context of that hadith, it doesn't go in line with that. He seems clearly annoyed at the fact that she didn't trust him and she's sneaking out to see where he's going. Excuse me. So the fact she says herself, he struck me on the chest and caused me pain, it's obviously clearly talking not about some soft pain. It's not. Why would you think it's talking about soft pain just because some scholars come along and say, oh yeah, it was just some little pinch?
Well, I also always question authenticities of hadiths, and also if you were to, for example, get hurt, you'd go to a doctor because these are the people who are educated. That's why I do rely on scholars. There are still medical textbooks, but I still need the doctor's interpretation of these medical textbooks so that they can like interpret it and like actually use it in action.
Okay, I get what you're saying. And think about it like this: if you go through like a court case, a court trial, they always want eyewitness testimony, right? It's the best form of testimony, they'll say. Someone who was there in the situation. So who better than Aisha in this particular account again to say he struck me on the chest and caused me pain? If she's saying it caused me pain, why should we disagree with what she's saying? Because some scholars here and there are trying to do patchwork and say it was a light pinch, it was everything other than what Aisha said it was.
Well, I wouldn't say that it was everything other, and you also have to think of the intent. Because someone was maybe shoved or pinched or something of the like, and it did hurt, even though that was not the intention. That should not be enough to make a ruling on it and allow domestic abuse.
So if I strike, let me even use me, right? So if a guy strikes his wife and it's painful to her and he didn't intend, he still did something wrong though, right?
Yes.
So when, for example, someone gets tried in court for manslaughter, you can intend to unalive someone, and you get a harsher punishment. You can unalive someone unintentionally, you'll still get punished, but not as severe, right?
I guess.
Because you've done something wrong, right?
Yeah.
So even though it doesn't tell us his intent, and even though when you read through the actual account, I would say it's more reasonable to assume that his intent was to strike her and cause her pain, but he still struck her and caused her pain, right?
If it
According
did cause
to
her
Aisha.
pain, it did cause her pain. If it is a trustable source, it's a confirmed hadith, and it's narrated by Aisha herself, then I guess it does. However, Aisha also
Aisha's
narrates all the
trustworthy,
good
right?
things. Aisha's trustworthy. If it's an authentic hadith, yes.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Give me a moment.
You were going to say Aisha says other stuff. You're going to tell me about
Yeah, I
Aisha
was gonna
says
say that.
Muhammad was a good boy.
Well, it is known that the Prophet did not raise his hand against anyone to hit them.
Yeah, Aisha says that apparently. So
Right, but there's also
so
an hadith that's equally as authentic, I believe. That says that like raise your hand to strike.
okay.
No, he
So
never hit a woman.
so we have a problem. Aisha's saying
We do.
two contradictory things in two Sahih hadith. What do we
Right.
do? What do we do when two Sahih hadith contradict each other or seem to be at conflict? What do we do in those scenarios?
What do I do?
Yeah, like what do you do generally?
Well, I'm obviously biased. So
Okay.
I
You can
can't
be
go off
biased
myself.
and
I'm
still
obviously
be
going to
you
believe
can be
that my
biased and
prop-
still be objective though. You know that, right?
Yeah, of course, but I'm obviously going to lead towards the sign that the Prophet's intentions are good, because that's what other hadiths say, more so than the ones that say that he causes harm.
You don't just think Aisha is saying stuff
Why would I think that?
because she's saying that he struck her in one scenario and it caused her pain, and then in another scenario she's apparently saying he's never struck anyone other than when he was at war.
Right.
So how do we reconcile them?
How do I reconcile what?
How do we reconcile those two statements? Aisha could be telling the truth. She could have apparently said both of those things. She could have said one of those things. She could have said none of those things.
Well, I
If
don't
she,
think that a shove is the same as domestic abuse, considering it only if it was one shove either way.
so if
Obviously, you
it's
shouldn't
one
go around
time, it's
shoving
okay.
people. No, but I feel like the good things overpower the bad things, and no one is a sinless being. It's a human being, obviously, is going to do it, but that does not that does not further prove that Islam is a religion that promotes and defends domestic violence. You
Okay,
can't take a
so
singular hadith and take it above all other scholarly interpretation, all other Islamic jurisprudence, all other Islamic law, all other hadiths, so on and so on, because you found two hadiths that seem to be saying something that slightly contradicts these things.
what's
There is
more
obviously
significant to
stronger.
you, the Quran and the Hadith, or scholars of the Quran and the Hadith?
The Quran and the Hadith, but
Okay.
I believe that the Hadith need interpretation. Not all Hadiths are correct, and not all Hadiths can hold up for today's standards because it's not eternal in the same way that the Quran is.
What do you mean it can't hold up for today's standard? What do you mean by that?
I mean, if we go to Hadith, right, there must be some Hadith that talks about Muhammad's style of living.
Yeah.
Does that mean that every single Muslim should follow that style of living? So let's say Muhammad, he didn't own a couch. Does that mean that every single Muslim who owns a couch is doing something that's haram? No, it doesn't.
Not necessarily.
There are
No.
customs for that time. These customs for that time do not exist in the Quran, but they do exist in Hadith, because Hadiths are sayings
Okay, I
that
get what
occurred
you're
at the
saying,
time.
but it's not just in the Hadith where striking women is. So this couldn't apply because the Quran is for all time, right?
Right.
So
So there are different translations for the word that you're trying to use. The word daraba, which is the word that is used in the verse I believe that you're going to bring up, which is Surah An-Nisa,
yeah.
434, I believe. Right? So that word has dozens and dozens and dozens of meanings in Arabic, and that is one of the reasons why the Quran is not really the same as it is in Arabic as when translated into other languages, because that distorts the message of the Quran.
I get what you're saying. So think about it like this though, yeah. I understand
Yes.
there's different interpretations of the word daraba.
Yeah, of
So
course.
and this is why for me, when I look at what the Quran says and I look at the Hadith and we look at different Hadith, we looked at a couple today where we see examples of striking a woman, striking a wife, right? Sorry. I think when you look at all those Hadith, it showcases and gives us insights as to what the Quran is talking about. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I actually don't agree that everything that happens in hadiths are connected to the Quran.
It's funny you say that because a lot of Muslims I've spoken to in the past, when I mention hadith, they always try and run back to the Quran verse, and they're like, "Oh, it has to be justified by something in the Quran." So they're always trying to link the Quran and the hadith. They're like, all the hadith has relevance to the Quran verse in one way, shape, or form.
Well, there's a hadith that says that that the Prophet was seen eating chicken. What does that have to do with Islam? Not all hadiths are relevant. You can't, and if things like this can make a hadith, does the Quran ever tell you eat chicken?
Okay, maybe
you have
not,
to eat chicken, you can't eat any other meat. Not all hadiths are relevant in this, like, especially considering that there are concepts in Islamic law that we Muslims follow, and that is followed in Muslim countries, that progresses through 3 different concepts. One of them called maslaha, the other one called, oh god, I forgot what it was called. Either way, there are 3 concepts.
In regards to this topic, though, there is obviously a verse which is significant in regards to these hadith, right?
Well, if the Quran says separate temporarily from the household, for example, then why are we, so let's say that people at the time of Muhammad, they followed the Quran's teachings, no?
Yeah. As it was revealed, they followed it, along with obviously what Muhammad
exactly.
was doing.
So why would they have to ask for extra permission to beat the wife if that wasn't allowed by the Quran itself?
What extra permission?
Why did someone have to walk up to him and ask, can you allow us to be our wives?
See, that's the problem.
Allowed it.
That's the problem Muslims have to deal with, because you guys have to get your timelines in check. Because I made this argument that you're making before to a Muslim, because I'm like, no, the Quran says you can do it. Then Muhammad is saying don't do it. So I said to the person, well, okay, cool. When did he say not to do it? And they said, no, this was before the Quran verse came down. Because it wouldn't make sense. If it's after the Quran verse, then that would mean Muhammad is going against what the Quran says. So they have to say it's before the Quran verse came down.
Well, I won't say that Muhammad is completely, or maybe that is true, or maybe it's not, but there are prophets that are not completely sinless, or that make mistakes, or that make rulings that aren't completely aligned with the Quran. So,
but obviously, do you think Muhammad would have contradicted the Quran?
Can we clarify if it actually was before or after? Because that would make a big difference.
You have to tell me. I don't know. Muslims have never given me a good answer on this particular question.
Should I search it up? Or I feel like that would be beneficial to both of us. Because I'm not aware of this.
You can search it up if you want.
All right.
Guys, Muslim men, take notes, man. The Muslims can have very good conversations. David, which Muslim is acting a fool? 2 very good calls today with 2 Muslims and a bunch of other calls with just Muslim men who, for whatever reason, just couldn't handle it. Let's see. So she's going to look. Are you back? I thought she came back.
Right.
She's back.
I can't find the exact answer, but if we can go through the 2 possible hypotheticals. Hypothetical 1 being that it came before the Quran verse.
Yep.
Then it must have been the Prophet himself who had motivated, or the already existing part of the Quran that must have gotten these people to make a ruling against domestic violence.
Obviously, look, this is the logic here. So this is what seems to be, if you're going to be charitable to Islam, what happened. So Muhammad comes on the scene, and that hadith is the reason behind why the verse came. So Muhammad says don't beat them. Muhammad says don't beat them. Umar comes and is like, no, they're being rude, let us beat them, blah, 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 blah. Then Muhammad says, okay, all the women come and complain. Then Muhammad now says, yous are not the best. And then the Quran verse comes down. And as some people say, well, it's stages. Don't just beat them if they're disrespectful. Speak to them, then banish them from beds, and then strike them. That's the typical approach you're going to hear from a Muslim who's going to say this is before. If it's after, it doesn't make sense. It can't really be after, because if it's after, he's contradicting what the Quran says.
And I would not believe that the Prophet would do that. So
yeah, Muslims aren't going to say, shouldn't say that, but some Muslims may try and go down that pathway. But again, it doesn't make sense.
So if we go to the perspective that you're trying to put it in, which I personally do, oh my God, that I personally agree with. I'm sorry, one of my friends joined the live. Either way, so basically, if we do take it from the perspective that you're like visualizing at the moment, and that perspective is that it came before the Quran verse, then you'd also have to know that before the Quran verse, domestic abuse was forbidden by the words of the Quran.
It was forbidden by what, sorry?
By the words of the Quran and the other like parts of the Quran, and also the manners of the Prophet himself.
What parts of the Quran are you talking about?
Maybe the ones that just don't promote harm or actually restrict you from causing harm.
But that wouldn't necessarily apply to the wife beating verse.
Well, you wouldn't know that before the before that ayah actually dropped. Like came from the sky and came from the angel Gabriel.
Why? Because the logic would be something along the lines of there were people in that day before Muhammad came on the scene who used to do it, right?
I'm sure, but there might also have been, most likely, verses in the Quran that forbade all harm.
Yeah, but
without necessary reasons, of course, like self-defense.
Both things can be true at the same time. There could be verses in the Quran which are talking about not harming people and whatever, and but at the same time, him talking about in this particular scenario, this is lawful for you. But they don't have to be contradictory or mutually exclusive. You can have both of those two things at the same time.
Right, but if we go from the perspective that one of them came in front of the other, so if we say that there must have been someone who read the Quran and they saw that you may not cause harm to another person unless it's self-defense, right? And they must also apply this to their wives, and then after that they have to ask the Prophet for permission if this was before the verse.
No, but obviously if it was before the verse when the hadith is happening, he's saying don't do it. So the implication is they were doing it before.
Right, and then the Quran corrects it by forbidding it.
Yeah, but well, no. Yeah, so if, like I'm saying, so if he says don't do it, the implication was they were doing it before, right?
Right, and then they stopped when he started preaching his message.
Yeah, so they stopped.
Because of the Prophet.
According to the hadith, then his companion, Umar, comes and says, turn it back on, basically, let us do it. He says, okay, go ahead. They do it again. Then the women come complaining, and then he's like, those of you who do this, they're not the best of you.
Right, and then the Quran drops, and then it forbids harm, or maybe it already did forbid harm. And then it says to separate.
Not necessarily stopping it, because, like I said, not talking, banishing from beds, and then strike.
And then separate.
So the logic is, at best, the argument that people are going to try and make is, he ordered them to just do it whenever you like.
Right, and that goes against the Quran.
And then,
that
no, it wouldn't go against the Quran, because
it actually would.
Because if the Quran verse hasn't been dropped yet, then how could it be going against something that the Quran hasn't given them yet?
Right, so at the time, maybe that ruling was correct, but
so when Muhammad is saying what he's saying, he's obviously the prophet of the time, so what he says goes, right?
No, what the Quran says goes, because
no, I'm saying before before there's revelation of the Quran, before you have 434, before you have that, Muhammad's going around, he's doing stuff, he's saying stuff. Some of that stuff is allegedly in the hadith, right? So before the Quran verse comes down and says, look, speak to them, banish them from beds, and then strike them. Before that comes down, why do you keep saying separate?
Because I believe that it's separate. I believe that that's the correct interpretation of the verse.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So were you the person in the chat? One of the people in the chat that was saying you think it's separate?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Cool. Obviously, the other Muslim I was speaking to doesn't agree. I don't agree because I've heard scholars that basically say it basically messes up the Arabic. Like it doesn't flow the way it should flow if it's talking about separating. He's just said separate, so why is he going to say separate again as well? As another reason
separate
why.
from the bed and separate from, example, the household is not the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. It isn't the same thing. But then, what is it? The next verse or whatever, it starts talking about like divorce or whatever.
Right. So perfect. So that correlates with the separate part. I'm sorry.
Why do you keep apologizing when you do that?
I know, because I feel like I'm getting called out.
What are you getting called out for?
For the way I speak.
Not for the way you speak.
For the reference.
Yeah.
For the reference.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah, like I said,
so that would actually work perfectly.
No, it wouldn't, because I've heard scholars say the Arabic doesn't go well. That was why I asked a Muslim earlier, because do you know what I'm saying? I know that's a thing why a lot of people don't take that interpretation.
Right, so how I see it is that there are also scholars that say that it is not that way and that the meaning is separate, because you can find in the Arabic language that word is used for separation multiple times and also very frequently.
Okay,
so
but
it depends on what scholar
used,
you're listening to,
but
and no scholar is heavenly
I agree
or
with
divine.
you. I agree with you in that sense, but the same way you're saying it's used for separate, it's used for striking, like as in the strike, right?
Right.
So again, why would you take this interpretation, especially when you have all of this stuff in the hadith which shows these men that are around Muhammad and Muhammad himself are taking it in this way? He's not saying strike them and yeah, that means banish or go away. He's saying strike.
He is saying strike, yes. Maybe because the Quran, I believe that maybe domestic abuse was a very popular thing at the time, or maybe it was more frequent or more widely accepted than what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And from that standard, maybe to keep that part of society, because not everything can be like replaced in one day. For example, you can see like Islam slowly abolishes slavery, right? But it can't just say leave all your slaves right now. That wouldn't work. It's impossible for some such deeply rooted social constructs to disappear in one day. So for that reason, I believe that maybe they're asking, I know that it says that you can't do harm, but can we do like this harm? And he's like, oh fine, if your women are being like this and this, because you are allowed to harm someone in like the sense of self-defense, I'm guessing, or maybe discipline or other ways like that.
But that wouldn't obviously be self-defense in that scenario,
abuse.
right?
It's not self-defense, but it's discipline. And I believe that's incorrect, obviously. But it might have been how the social construct worked at the time and how the manners worked at the time. And I did not live during that time, so I wouldn't be aware. But that is my own interpretation of it. So if the verse after 434 really does say, talk directly of divorce after, then wouldn't it make sense that it says separate? It says, and then separate, and then it explains terms of separation. Or
the next verse talks about bringing an arbiter to try and reconcile stuff. Obviously, look, I mentioned it, so I'm familiar with the line of argumentation that goes down that pathway. But like I said, I'm also familiar with a lot of the people saying no, it doesn't really fit. So I'm not saying it's the most far-fetched, because obviously, like from my studies, the word, as you said, one of the meanings is to go away. But
yeah,
Do you get what I'm saying? Obviously, we know words have meanings. Words can have a variety of meanings. And the context is always going to determine and help us find what is the best interpretation of a passage, right?
Yeah.
So,
however, you can, yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say that like you cannot rely on every scholar, especially when the interpretations are very different and can be totally opposite. And maybe it was in God's plan to make this law ambiguous. And maybe it is in his plan to see who actually is a more violent person. And we do not I'm sorry, is that a bad idea?
No, keep going.
I'm thinking because we do not possess the wisdom that God has.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So maybe it was in God's plan to make this verse highly debated. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I'm not the one who wrote the verse.
The thing is, being honest, like, I don't feel like it's hard to debate. I
do, considering that there's so many different words that can be used for it. And if no one is sure on what it means, then it's up for interpretation and it is considered an ambiguous verse.
It's definitely up for interpretation, but this is why I said to you before. When I read the Quran verse, when I look at different hadith, it's like it's not a situation where I feel like, yeah, this is hard to deduce. I feel like Muhammad's in a situation where the men want what they want to do. The men want what the men want. And like in that particular hadith we've spoken about a lot today, he's going back and forth. Do it, don't do it, do it. Like,
it does go back and forth, considering that it's an ambiguous topic.
And to me, that's the problem.
In general.
It's like, if Muhammad is saying don't, then he's saying do it. Then he's saying those of you who do it are not the best of you. It's like he's saying for them, don't do something. Then he's saying do it. Then he's telling them off for doing what he just said they can do.
Well, if we were to take the interpretation that you believe in and that it actually does mean to cause harm, then that would be incorrect. Even the scholars who do believe that it means to strike mean that it doesn't cause any harm whatsoever. No bruise or any mark of such.
You know, causing harm is subjective though, right?
Psychological harm, I'm guessing you mean, maybe?
No. Well, I'm not even talking about that. That is obviously a whole nother kettle of fish, but I'm talking about physical harm. And the reason why this is so special, right, is because of what we spoke about earlier on when we spoke about Muhammad and Aisha. When I first mentioned it, you said, oh, it was a little pinch, it was just this. And I was saying, wait, no. Aisha's apparently in the scenario. She is speaking for herself and saying, he struck me on the chest and caused me pain. Pain is subjective. So Muslims and the scholars that say, well, it's about a light pain, it's this, it's that, it can't cause pain. How do you know you're going to cause pain or not?
Well, obviously God is aware of your intention.
Okay, so it's intention is more important when it comes to, like you said, for example, Muhammad. You said he didn't intend to do. He didn't intend to hurt her.
Yeah.
Even though, like I said to you at the time, reading through the hadith, it seems more like he was intending to do something to her, which harmed her.
Well, we can't be aware of another person's intent.
We can't, completely. Obviously, we can't read minds, exactly. We can't completely, unless even when someone says this is their intention, we can't even guarantee that's fully their intention. But that's why I said, reading the whole story in its entirety, he's leaving the house. She's running after him, hiding. She's trying to run back to the house. She's out of breath. He calls her out on it. And then he's like, she confesses. Then it's like, boom. So it's like, he's clearly annoyed. He's like, you're sneaking out. You're lying to me. You're doing all this different kind of stuff. He strikes her. And she says, it caused me pain. Like, wouldn't it, like, to me, when I read that, I'm like, okay, the most reasonable interpretation of this is he's intending to cause her pain. He doesn't say anything after, like, oh, did I hurt you, or sorry, or anything along those lines. So why would we say that he didn't intend to do what he did?
We'd have to assume that he intends to follow the Quran. That literally, if we were to interpret that it means strike and that it means to cause harm on top of that, which are two things that I don't agree with considering the interpretation, then that would still not be the first thing that you do, no?
Say that again, sorry. It wouldn't be the what?
It wouldn't be the first step in the verse.
And it's funny that you say that, because this is what I said to a Muslima earlier on. I said, Muhammad didn't follow the stages. You know what she said to me?
What did she say?
She said Muhammad had license to do things which other people didn't. And she gave the example of Muhammad having more wives, which I understand and see in Islam. He can do things which other people can't do. But I said to her, well, look, we can read something in Islamic literature which says Muhammad can have more women than the Muslim men. The Muslim men are bound to 4, and as many as their right hand possesses. But I asked her, show me something in Islam which says he can violate 434. And obviously she couldn't show me anything. So,
well, it wouldn't be correct for him to do that, considering that every person, to a very large extent, if we exclude prophets, are equal in front of God. And obviously the prophets were also, like, when prophets do bad things, they are punished for their beings.
So if, like you said, because I agree with you, he would have violated 434, right?
Right.
And do you see the problem?
I do see the problem.
So why is Muhammad, who's the best example to mankind, violating what the Quran says?
It can also be impulse. He's a human being who has impulse, and it can also be the timeline, which I'm not aware of in this situation. It might also have been before.
Before the verse came down?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's interesting.
And from what I've heard, there are other hadiths, because someone just reminded me of it, where it is like a gesture to remove demons of sorts and jinns of sorts.
Yeah, I heard that as well. He's driving away the evil.
You're right.
I did hear that. I don't really dig that interpretation, if I'm honest, but I have heard that interpretation before.
Well, if it is, I believe that this is a topic that you can definitely pick and choose interpretations from, and that only God himself is aware of the original meaning of the verse and of the action itself.
Obviously, I agree with what you're saying. This is why the best way to get closer to the truth is to examine as much of the evidence that we have as possible, right, and to come to a conclusion.
Right.
And I, obviously, from my vantage point, when I do this, and when I think most people who do this objectively, even if they're biased, even if you're Muslim, right, comes with it with the hope that this isn't what Muhammad is doing or this isn't what he's commanding, the more evidence you look at, it's like you have to get to a point where you're like, okay, cool. He's saying this stuff apparently on one side, but he's also saying stuff on another side.
Well, the Quran is obviously preferred over hadiths.
Okay.
You're obviously aware of this. So if a hadith ever were to contradict the Quran, then you should obviously prefer the Quran on top of the hadith, because the hadith are sayings of human beings and the Quran is the word of God. And they obviously differ extremely.
I agree with you with that. The problem is, though, when you have multiple, or when you have Sahih hadith, they should never contradict the Quran, though, should they?
I believe that they might, considering that, again, it's a hadith. Morally, they shouldn't, but we're talking about human beings.
So that's what I'm saying. Muslims have told us for years that they've got the sound chains and everything is preserved in these sorts of special ways. The chains are mutawatir and all that kind of stuff. So those things go back. They're things you can bank on. But this is why I always say, today, Sahih Hadith aren't even Sahih anymore, because I speak to Muslims all the time. We'll read the Sahih Hadith to them and they'll throw it under the bus. They'll just be like, no, I don't accept it. I don't want to take it. Even though it's Sahih. Like, at that point, you're just picking and choosing. It's pick and mix.
How I think is that God himself said that he will prevail the Quran in its original meaning, and that will never be altered. I do not believe that this same concept is implemented on the hadith.
So how can you verify or trust anything in the hadith, which is, I'm already talking about Sahih, by the way. How can you verify anything in the Sahih collection of the hadith?
I'm guessing if it's agreed upon by many scholars, and if the source of the hadith, if it's like a strong hadith, or if it's narrated by a trustful source, and also if you can verify it by other like things said in the Quran. So if a hadith were to go the exact opposite way of the Quran, obviously a Muslim would choose the Quran.
Okay,
or even
but
if it was slightly
even
away.
if it's Sahih and the chain is sound, do you see the problem with that though? I get and understand, yes, you will take the Quran over the hadith, but how do you now validate or trust anything which comes from a Sahih hadith if you can have that scenario where it's contradicting the Quran?
Because when it contradicts the Quran, I reject it.
Okay, so for you, the Quran is number one. That makes sense. But without the hadith, how do you know the stuff you know about the Quran?
Like what things, for example?
Like how many chapters are in the Quran?
By
like,
counting the chapters.
Okay, yes, you're counting chapters that you have today, but the reason you know there's 114 surahs in the Quran you read is because of the particular hadith which break down why they chose that particular Quran collection and not Ibn Masud's collection, or I can't remember the other guy's name right now, collection, because there's different companions who had different chapters of the Quran in the hadith.
Right.
So
I'm thinking,
sorry, go
well,
ahead.
obviously there has to be a stronger hadith. Because there are hadiths that are very, very strong and that obviously do make a legal or a like any other change that like to the Quran itself, or sorting of the Quran, because the Quran cannot be changed. So there are hadiths that are strong and there are hadiths that are not strong, and so that's basically how I think.
Okay, perfect. So you have strong Sahih hadith and you have stronger Sahih hadith.
Yes, I believe there are definitely some hadiths that are much stronger.
So there's levels to the
Like,
Sahih, guys.
According to me, it's my own personal interpretation.
Okay, perfect.
There are, right, and there are also Sahih hadiths that are not as like authentic or that are labeled as da'if.
Say that again. There's authentic hadith which are da'if.
Or maybe that's not true, but I know that there are hadiths that are da'if, that are part of popular collections of hadiths.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I don't make a habit of quoting those sorts of hadith. I only quote Sahih hadith.
Well, I don't understand how your entire basis of how Islam treats women, which is the first point, comes from the hadith and does not come from the Quran itself. That honors women and gives them rights that do not exist in even the Bible.
It's not about me just making a case from the hadith. That's what you built your entire thing. Especially like in the conversation today. Like I've only really spoke about the hadith, but those hadith to me only have any weight because of the Quran.
Right, well, if we do take the fluid interpretation that it does mean strike, then these hadiths should not. First of all, if we can go through the hadith that you've used, right? A shove, if it were to be a shove, and if the intent was to cause harm, right? And it is stated that it's meant to push or poke, right, in the chest area. And it does not really reach hitting in the way that you raise your hand and you hit someone.
What are you basing that on?
I'm basing that on scholarly interpretations.
The scholarly interpretations? What scholarly interpretations?
Mainstream ones.
Like?
Really. Or at least right now, I'm thinking of the something that I read. I think I read it at like the entire Council of International Islamic fiqh.
Okay, so
because I remember reading about this topic long, and I don't really remember it really well, but that's where I remember reading about issues that like these.
So you feel like the scholars have more weight than Aisha?
No, I don't. Once again, but that's what it is. Aisha herself does not say that he raised his hand and hit her. It says that he shoved, pushed her, poked.
If he struck her, how else would he struck her other than raising his hand to strike her?
Well, I think it says shoved.
If he's standing there with his hands by his side and then he shoves her, he has to raise his hands to shove her or strike her or push her or whatever you want to say it was.
Well,
right?
you do understand the difference between slapping someone and shoving them.
Yeah, they're not the same thing, but they're both still striking. They're both still hitting, right?
I would not say that they're both striking.
I can strike your chest and cause you pain. I could hurt you more by striking your chest than your face. It depends, like, what you're doing and how you do it.
Well, hitting the face is first of all not allowed. I'd like to say, in any circumstance, to anyone, for that matter, even if it were necessary. But it does, but it's not. A strike and a shove is, when you think about it, not the same thing. We have to go off from that point so I can keep on going.
Right, obviously, we can debate all of this stuff. Does it mean this? Does it mean that? To me, that's the secondary point. The first point is that she says what she says. He struck me and it caused me pain.
No, what she said is that he gave me a shove in the chest.
Obviously, that's your translation of it.
Right. Another reason why you should not really translate Arabic without a very set translation of the word.
How is it a very set translation? From what I read, there's multiple different words: shove, strike, pull.
Exactly.
Then
we have no idea what will actually happen unless we both read it in Arabic.
He hit her in some way, shape, or form that caused her pain. That is what we can all agree on. We know that. Whether he struck her with his hands open like a push, or whether he did the poke, as some people try to say, like, he hit her in one way, shape, or form which caused pain. We can all agree on that.
I guess, if it caused her pain, even though it was not the intention.
And that's the main point. That's the main problem.
Right? Well, obviously this contradicts the Quran from most interpretations.
Adam?
This contradicts the Quran from many different interpretations.
All right. Well, look, sister, this has been a good conversation.
Right.
You can definitely call in another time, and we can pick this up at some point in the future. All right.
Right. However, there are some verses that I wanted to bring up that I've read from the Bible.
Like what?
One of them being that if two men are fighting, and the wife of the man tries to save her husband from the hand that is beating him.
Why are you
and
saying
if she
help?
grabs, what?
Keep going anyway. What you're talking about is in Deuteronomy 25. What about it?
Right. Why should he cut her hand off?
Well, you have a problem with cutting hands off as a judgment.
I believe that it should not be that little of a judgment. I'm aware that it exists in the Quran to prevent stealing, because it's even in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal.
So, you don't have a problem with hands being chopped off as a judgment?
If it's for a reason that is justified, but I do not believe that this is justified enough to cut someone's hand off.
Okay, so that's good. So we're both in agreement that based on both of our beliefs, chopping a hand off is, if God says so, is acceptable. Okay, cool. Okay, perfect. Number two, obviously, well, I'd have to say that if the Bible is saying that, if God is saying that, then it's cool. But when you look into what people say about the particular verse, it's obviously because she's trying to inflict damage on his private parts, which is obviously how he continues to have life and create life. That's why a punishment is so significant, if you want to put it like that. She's trying to cut off new life. So really, when you think about it in that comparison, life and potential life in the future in comparison to a hand is nothing in the bigger scheme of things.
From what I've read, the verse also said that if it's accidental, her hand also gets cut off.
Where did you read that? How is it going to be accidental that two men are fighting each other and somehow the woman comes onto the scene and grabs his private parts? That's clearly not what it's trying to imply there. But I'll be very interested to know what you read that said that. Where did you read that? I think she's going to look for it, guys. I'm the word. Yes, even if a woman is pregnant in Islam and she steals and gets judged for stealing and her hand is chopped off, that is what will happen. Yes.
Okay, so I must have came up with that myself first of all, because that does not exist in the Bible. However, the part of the pregnant woman, there's also part of Sharia law that, like, if the woman is starving and she steals, then that's fine, because that's the reason that she stole.
However, said you made up what, or you came up with what by yourself?
Yeah, the part of the accidental thing, I might have just envisioned it myself.
Cool. Thanks for mentioning that. Cool, it's fine.
Right. Either way, so if the pregnant woman was desperate, or the pregnant woman stole because she was poor, or any other reason that can be morally justified, then her hand will be saved, obviously. Like, she will behold her hand. But also, what does a pregnant woman win from going up to someone while they're financially stable and stealing their valuables?
What does she gain? The valuable stuff she's trying to steal, right?
Yeah, is that correct?
What do you mean, is that correct?
Is that correct? Is that morally correct? To steal someone's stuff even without your need? If you're not in need of wealth.
Stealing isn't good. Even when you're in need, stealing wouldn't be the best option. But it's funny because I was reading, maybe today or yesterday, the Bible obviously talks about in Proverbs, like, don't be angry with someone when they steal, when they need stuff. But it doesn't make it right. But it's understandable why someone would feel they need to steal in those situations. But the better thing to do would be to ask, can I have this? Yeah. I need this, etc. And people should help you in that scenario.
Like, coincide here. We agree on this. That it is more justifiable for someone who is in need to steal than someone who is already wealthy, or someone who already possesses enough money to keep themselves alive, and so on and so on.
Yeah, if you have more stuff, if you have a lot of stuff, then you shouldn't really, there's no reason why you should be stealing. But
exactly. And for that reason, even if you are a pregnant woman, then your hand's getting severed.
Okay.
Is that not fair? Would the Bible not want the same thing?
No, because the Bible doesn't talk about chopping off a hand for stealing.
Well, didn't you just say that they both agree on that? That we both agree on the fact that
we both agree on the fact that God can judge. A judgment of chopping off a hand isn't...
Wait, I have a question. Doesn't the Bible say that if your hand causes you to sin, then you shall cut it off, even if it's metaphorical?
What do you mean, even if it's metaphorical? You can't ask the question and say, even if it's metaphorical. If it's metaphorical...
Well, it is stated in the Bible.
If it's
I haven't read it from somewhere else.
Yeah, no, Jesus did say that. That's what I'm saying. If you can't ask that and then say, even if it's metaphorical. If it's metaphorical, then it's not literal, right?
Right. But on what grounds do we have to say that it is metaphorical?
The fact that, why would you chop off your hand? Jesus,
because you're stealing.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't say because they're stealing. He's talking about if your eye causes you to sin, if your hand causes you to sin. He's going through various different things, and he's just and then he's like, chop it off and do this, etc. Jesus spoke with a lot of hyperbole, as we call it. So,
well, once again, if it says "thou shalt not steal," then what is the punishment in Christianity for stealing?
The punishment, okay, the punishment, let me start with the Old Testament. The punishment in the Old Testament, if you stole, you had to return 5-fold or 4-fold. It varies, but you had to return multiple stuff.
And what if you refuse to return
multiple times? To be honest, I'm not even sure what would happen in that situation, but it wouldn't obviously be chopping off. There's nothing in the Bible which would point to that. But obviously people typically followed the laws that were given to them. So if you stole, you had to return back multiple times, which is obviously a major deterrent not to do it. But chopping off the hand wasn't one of the scenarios though.
Well, I believe that it is actually justifiable that if you, with no reason, were to steal something, then you're going to get your hand chopped off, and for that reason, people did not steal.
Yeah, look, I'm not. That's for you in Islam to handle and to deal with. I was just mentioning that because a Muslim, was talking about chopping hands. They didn't know why we're talking about chopping hands.
But also, the Bible does allow you chopping someone's hand off if they see someone's private parts. So it's supposed to be worse than stealing, according to your own interpretation.
Yeah, it is. Cutting off potential future life is worse than stealing. Definitely.
What if it wasn't the intent to cut off future life?
What do you mean if it wasn't?
It was only to cause harm.
What do you mean again, this goes back to what I was talking about before about how we know intent, but the way the passage reads, it makes you think it's leading you more down to the pathway she's trying to cause harm because of the fight between the two men, which she shouldn't be there in the first place anyway, trying to get involved. It should be other men trying to stop the fight if they're going to stop the fight.
Help her husband.
Yeah, that's not. There's many ways you can help your husband. That is one of the ways that God says, no, don't do that. If you do that particular way, you are going to be punished severely because of it.
Right.
But there's also a line of interpretation which says it's not even it's not literal, but yeah.
Oh. Either way, there's something I wanted to point out is also the woman in the niqab that is shown in the back. Can you motivate why you chose that photo specifically and called it degrading?
All right. So what I'll say, I said it to you. I think I said it to you earlier on, but it was as simple as just Googling a Muslim woman. If you Google Muslim women, these are the first kind of pictures of which are going to come up. So don't think about what I'm saying about Islam and women in comparison to the hijab. I've had these conversations many times. I don't think I've ever spoken about the hijab. There's more pressing problems than for me to even waste time talking about hijab.
Right, because it's also mentioned in the Bible.
What's mentioned?
Dress modestly and to cover your hair when you're in a church or prophesying or believing in God.
Dress modestly, yeah. Obviously, dressing modestly has a level of subjectivity to it. We both have to agree to that. So,
there are also some guidelines that are shown in Timothy.
I was going to say, yeah, there are examples in the scripture which give you certain stuff about what modesty is, but apart from that, there's subjectivity to it.
Right, but it actually does mention head coverings as well in Corinthians.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. The head coverings are mentioned at different parts of the New Testament, sometimes in the Old Testament. So
you're in no way opposed to the head coverings that are used in Islam?
No. There's a difference between head coverings in Islam and what the Bible's talking about. There's a difference.
How would you say that?
They didn't cover their because when you think about the hijab, and we're literally talking about hijab when amazing. But when you talk about the hijab, that's different to how a lot of women were covered going back to previous times.
Not really, considering that the verse that is talking about the hijab is Surah An-Nur, which is chapter 24, verse 31. By the way, I first want to point out the fact that if you ever were to point out the fact that it's to stop men from lust, I want to tell you that God firstly in 24:30 tells men to not be lustful and tells men to lower their gaze and basically remove a part of their vision, like metaphorically, like they don't look, and that they also should guard their chastity because that is better for them and that is purer for them. Right? And also in the verse that mentions the hijab, it says to cover your khimar. The khimar is a type of veil that was already used at the time. The only problem is that it wasn't covering their chests, and that is the addition that it was added in the time of the Quran. So they were already wearing head coverings, but they were not wearing it over their chest, and that is the extra instruction that is added in the verse.
Yeah, and
So they
obviously,
were actually dressed modestly at the time.
no, I'm not saying they didn't dress modestly. I'm saying the way Muslims dress today is not exactly the same as the women who were dressing modestly before them. That's my point.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I can't agree and say Islam is dressing the same. Women in Islam are dressing the same way modest Christian ladies or modest Israelite ladies were dressing before. I can't agree to that. What
we can all agree to that.
What I can agree is
modesty
that
is not degrading, right?
the Bible talks about modesty. But this is what I'm talking about. There's levels. Modesty is objective to a certain degree. Like obviously, yeah, I'll just say that. There's a level of subjectivity to it beyond what the scripture will mention. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
So you both agree on the fact that modesty is not oppression, and that it's not degrading.
It depends what kind of modesty you're talking about, quotation marks. That's the point I'm making.
So what is the difference between the two that you're trying to point out?
So, and this is the last thing I want to say about this, because like I said, I don't ever talk about this. Only when Muslims bring this up and I just say, well, look, this is not what I'm talking about. But I'll give you an example. So in Islam, you've got women who, they'll be covered. I've heard Muslims say stuff like women even have to wear gloves because if people see their hands, there's a problem.
And that's not a part of the Quran, and it's not a part of hadith even. I believe that it's not awra at all.
You see women can be covered in clothes and
religious texts,
and only their eyes, and you can only see their eyes.
Perfect. Burqas,
to me,
niqab
that's
is
excessive.
not a part of the Quran. Once again, the face is not awra. The burqa is a cultural piece of clothing. It is not Islamic.
I even heard a guy the other day say, even the voice. This is why women shouldn't even do teaching online. So when these women today, these Muslims are blowing up, like, and in a good way, like they're getting bigger and bigger, there's men that are saying they shouldn't even do that because if the man hears the voice, it's a problem. All this stuff to me, very excessive.
Well, these are things that are excessive considering that women did preach, women did teach.
Which
women
women
talked,
preached?
women went to meetings. Aisha is a very known scholar, and Khadija was a businesswoman. Do you think that she was a silent businesswoman at the time?
She was a businesswoman, but what does that have to do with Islam?
How was her voice awra? And also, how was her voice awra if she was a businesswoman?
I just said business. She was a businesswoman. What does that have to do with Islam? You
said that the voice is awra.
I'm saying, I've heard Muslim scholars say that. So they weren't obviously talking about business. They're talking about this specific scenario where, like I said, teaching, going out and teaching Islam and debating and all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. They will say women doing that can be a problem for Muslim men hearing a woman's voice and falling into sin, which, like, that
does not exist in the Quran, however.
Okay. So obviously, there's a lot of stuff which doesn't exist in the Quran, quotation marks, which you've been appealing to at different times, the jurisprudence and the rulers and all this different kind of stuff. That is where they're discussing this sort of stuff, right?
Right.
So I'll just put it like that. That's all I'm going to say. So that stuff is described and discussed in those places. Whatever rulings they've come to in those particular scenarios, why aren't those meaningful to you, whereas other things in those rulings are meaningful to you?
Because I feel like there are things that are obviously, like the Quran alone confirms them, and that you don't need excessive interpretation on them. And the Quran says what is awra and what you have to do, and I believe that you should not add anything upon that. Why are we altering or adding stuff to the Quran?
But you would have to agree that the scholars do that all the time.
The scholars that what?
I'd say you have to agree that scholars do it all the time. Whenever I have these sorts of conversations, a lot of the time I'm the one saying to the Muslim, come back to what the Quran says, come back to what the hadith says. A lot of the time they're saying, no, but the scholar says this, which is a different interpretation to whatever we're reading.
Well, scholar, if we have to put them like into a list, then it's obviously the Quran and then the hadith and then the scholars.
Yeah, so when the Quran is saying something, like we talked earlier on about wife beating, and you're like, no, it means something else. The scholars mean this. And I'm like, no, but like the Quran seems to be clear to me. The hadith seem to be clear to me. You're appealing to the scholars then. But when we talk about something like this, when the men are like debating about this stuff, wait, no, like we know the Quran says cover, but what to what extent does it mean cover? Some say gloves, some say cover everything, only the eyes, some say other stuff.
Well, the people who say that are going out of the Quran, and the reason that I refer to scholars when on the topic of like wife beating, right, is because they obviously know more in the Arabic language than what I do. And for that reason, I rely on them for the translation, but not for the meaning of a verse. So I can rely on scholars for a translation because they are linguistically educated about how the Quran works. However, if the scholar wants to add or wants to remove or change something from the Quran, I will not be in support of that.
That seems like chicken mixed to me, man.
How is that mixed? If I don't know I'll go to a scholar if I do not know the translation, and I'll only listen to the part where they talk about the translation. And I won't take, like, generally, their other teachings over the Quran.
All right.
Is that not fair?
Like I said, it seems
That's
like
why I take the scholar's idea on that topic, but not on other topics. The topic on modesty is already fixed and it's set. The topic on this one is still highly debated. And the only fallacy is the linguistic properties of the Quran.
So according to you, objectively
linguists.
speaking, what is the objective covering for women?
It says you have to cover your bottoms, that you wear clothing that does not stick to the body.
Okay, so no tight clothes.
No tight clothes, yes. And it says that the hands and the face are not awra. That is gravely accepted. And you should cover your hair, obviously, with the khimar that was already used at the time, and that you should wrap it over your chest as well.
Okay, so cover hair, no tight clothes on the bottom or on the top. And this is okay, go ahead.
You not make your figure in any way obvious.
Okay. So loose clothing basically.
Yeah.
So all the Muslims,
all over the body.
Any Muslims with tight clothes, that's a no-no, yeah?
Well, obviously they're doing something that is partially incorrect, but they have other aspects of their faith.
Say that again, sorry?
Obviously they're doing something that is incorrect, but I cannot condemn them entirely or judge them because of that one thing.
Why? You can't judge them on that particular action?
I don't want to judge them because I'm not supposed to be a judgmental person according to my own religion.
Okay, so
that doesn't mean only because they wear something doesn't mean that they don't pray, that they don't do this, and that they don't do that.
It's nothing to do with any of the other stuff. It's just the fact that they're not dressing modestly. So if they are wearing tight clothes which show some of their shape, they're going against the Quran verse.
Partially, yes.
Why you say partially?
For the most part, because I'm not very fixed on it, but I'm sure that there must be some kind of God is all merciful.
See, this is the problem, sis. You said before this is objective, and I'm asking you for the objective criteria. So now when I'm asking you, a Muslim who doesn't follow this objective criteria, you're saying partially. Why are you not saying fully?
Because I don't want to, I don't want to judge her, basically. I don't want to discriminate against another woman's clothing.
You're not judging her. Allah is judging her, right?
Right, but I am a person. I can also judge a person.
But Allah is judging the Muslims who wear tight and revealing clothes, right?
Yes, in an all-merciful way.
Okay, so they would be going against the Quran if they wear tight or revealing clothes. Yeah.
From what I know. Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, sis.
Do you believe that that's degrading? Is that a part of your point that it's degrading?
Look, I already said to you, you got me talking about something I don't even talk about, sis.
Well, yeah, well, you have to be open to talk about something when you have a very broad claim that you're trying to promote.
And I take the broad claim and focus on specific situations.
You can't only focus on the situations that you yourself are educated on. I feel like you have to be more diverse in your own teachings.
I am diverse. We talked about this a little bit. I gave you a little bit of grace. I asked you some questions just to see where you're coming from. But like I said, the hijab, the burqa, all of that stuff, there's, to me, bigger fish to fry with Islam and women. So I don't waste time talking on that particular topic. So that's what you're going to get from me, sis.
Right.
All right. Perfect. It was a good conversation.
Thank you.
Like I said, call in another time if you want.
Yes, I'll try.
All right. God bless.
Wait, just 1 second. There was a question about Afghanistan. I just want to clarify for everyone that Afghanistan does not follow Sharia law. Islam encourages all people to seek knowledge regardless of gender. And Afghanistan banning schools for women is not a part of Islam. Afghanistan banning work for women is not a part of Islam. Muslim women worked as long as they keep their attire, their modest attire, and they don't work in businesses that are haram. Basically, if they like collect black money or money that or like are frauds, if that's their job, or if they're like prostitutes. However, I don't believe that prostitutes are really executed considering that they're desperate, from what I know. So jobs are also allowed in Islam. Schools are allowed in Islam. The burqa does not exist in Islam, and it's an additional cultural piece of clothing. So that's why I hate the interpretation of, oh, but like look at Afghanistan. Why should I look at a country that does not follow my holy book? And why are you comparing it to my holy book? Any person can go to extreme lengths when it comes to religion. So that's what I wanted to say.
God bless.
How does Islamic law allow that?
Adam?
Wait, sorry, no, it's just the same person. They're saying Islamic law allows you to forbid a woman from... How can Islamic law forbid a woman from going to school when Islamic law, or Islam itself, the Quran,
all right,
encourages
look, sis,
you
you
and
have that
obligates you to
conversation
seek
with them in
knowledge.
the chat, all right?
Right.
God bless. All right, guys. Wow. The Muslims came out to play today. Well, we always talk to Muslims anyway, but the Muslims had the best conversations. What do you think, guys? Should we do one more call? What do you think? We should do one more? Or should we call it a night? Should we end with that perfect conversation that we just had? Or should we do one more? I think we should call it, I think about it. Prometheus, God bless you, bro. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. God bless you and reward you. Thank you so much. Flip a coin, really, guys? Guys, isn't it women like the Muslims we spoke to today, which show us that Muhammad had to be wrong when he said women were half-brained? Keep the faith, guys. Keep the hope. All right. One more. Hello, Ad. One more. No, definitely not Damien. Come on, Ad. Don't let us down. Doesn't seem like he's connecting. I'm too soft on them, apparently, guys. All right, one last Muslim. This caller is not connecting properly. So if you want to have a conversation, one more caller, we'll do one more. But if this call doesn't disconnect, then technically we did one more, right? Punch drunk Damien has been beaten from pillar to post. We need to handle Damien carefully, guys. See, that's how I view it as well, right? I love to have good conversations. I wish they could all be good conversations where the Muslim isn't short-circuiting and malfunctioning or anything along those lines. Those will always bring out the best conversations. It's the Muslims that try and come up and be disrespectful, which normally don't end well. God bless you too, bro. Why would I be delusional? One last Muslim caller, man. I'm not going to be waiting around forever. If you want to have a conversation, call in now. First come, first serve. Oh, not me, someone else. Okay, cool. But if not, guys, I'm happy to end on that last caller. It's always good to end it on a nice note, a good note. These are the kind of calls that give you hope that, you know what, you can actually have a good conversation with a Muslim. Even if they have voice changing on, or even if they're pretending to be someone they're not. Now, if you're saying that, you missed the other call. We had two good Muslim calls today, two good Muslim calls. The rest of the calls today were just so-so. But the two Muslims we spoke to were definitely the best by far. Yeah, it was a good one. All right, guys. We did one more. They didn't connect for whatever reason. So if not, guys, I'm going to see you again on Monday. If you don't see me before then, we live stream like this on Mondays and Wednesdays, showing you how to defend your faith as a Christian. We deal with Islam like we dealt with today, Orthodox Judaism, atheism, and Hebrew Israelites. God bless, guys. Thank you for all the moderators holding it down, managing the chat. Thank you for everyone that made the chat a good place as well. Thank you for all the super chats. I appreciate you. It goes a long way, and I pray that the Lord reward you for that as well. And guys, until next time, we're going to sign out with the Apologetic Arena anthem, and I'll see you guys on Monday by the grace of God. God bless, guys, and thank you all for tuning in again. And obviously, if you're on the replay, it all went well, guys. Enjoy it. God bless.
We take thoughts captive, we pull lies down. Apologetic Arena, lions wear the crown. Bold as lions stand and fight, truth shines bright in the night. Arguments fall when the word comes through. Arena live, we coming for you.
Not carnal weapons, strong in Christ. Truth cuts deep, yeah, truth precise. Every high thing coming down. Watch those arguments hit the ground. First century at lions roar. Christians bled on the arena floor. Now roles reversed, hear that sound. We the lions all around. What's the context? Say it loud. Truth stands tall, we ain't bowed. When the word speaks, error fades. Light shining in every debate.
We take thoughts captive.
We pull lies down. Apologetic Arena, lions wear the crown. Bold as lions stand and fight. Truth shines bright in the night. Arguments fall when the word comes through. Arena live, we coming for you. Ecosmios runs the show. Zara Grace keeps order though. Moderators hold the line, keeping everything aligned. Hebrew Israelites, atheists too. Rabbis talking old school views, fibbing Farouk in every claim. Step in the arena, leave maimed. Don't look down, you bleeding on the floor. Game over, hear that lion roar. Hey, hey, don't look down, you bleeding on the floor. Hey, hey, game over, hear that lion roar.
Beat you lightly with a Miss Wax stick. Every argument falls real quick. Spiritually neuralized, can't see clear. Truth right there, but they disappear. That might be clip of the month, we say. Another debate gone sideways today.